FedEx full, we commanding the block. Burgundy and gold, got the city on lock. Hustling plays, ain't no need to pretend. DC reppin' strong and we fight to the end. Command is moving, no breaks, no pause. Hands in the dirt, respecting the call. KDot and admit, dissect the grind. District divider with a city in mind. Trying to dance why, don't miss a bit. And you gotta spread the words, or shit is shit. KDot.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast. More specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. I am Amit, that is KDot, and that is Nathan Perry from Ref the District joining us for this episode today. Yeah,
I did not expect that. That one on the graphic was a nice touch. I wish I had my bucket hat. I almost did. One of my favorite pictures of myself, I'll have to see if I can find it and I might post it, is early on in my relationship with EP. And I was wearing my Washington Redskin pants, a Washington Redskins shirt with a jersey over top of it, and a Washington Redskins beanie. And I had jumped up, I think, on the bed is what I think it was. And I was like, just kind of like, and whatnot. She was a Cowboys fan back then too. So yeah, so it was, I think it's one of my favorite pictures of me because it's just me being full on dork, but of course wearing all burgundy and gold. And back then, still sporting the burgundy and gold, but I haven't done something that wild in a little while outside of finger guns. I wear my onesie out in public. I call it my Washington onesie. So after Washington wins, I'll wear it. EP doesn't really let me wear it out in town as much as I would like, but I definitely took it to the bus stop when my son was taking the bus. Walked him out there in the onesie and walked back in. I was just like, yeah, everybody gets to see this today.
That's a beautiful thing. And we appreciate you joining us. And if you
Absolutely.
don't already listen to Ref the District, please do like their videos, subscribe to their channels, and do the same thing with us. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do, and KDot.
I wrote a poem, but I don't like it.
Well, you have to read it.
I'm gonna read it, but like last night, I don't know if you guys heard of the movie Kneecap. It's about Irish rappers singing or rapping in the native Irish language. I don't know why that was jazzing around in my head. Like I wanted to make some sort of like Irish rap, but it didn't work. So preface to the enough. I'm kind of nervous. All right. Commanders rise when the cold sets in. Cowboys break wherever the cracks begin. Daniel shines. Our star plays. Dallas fades in the frozen haze. Nathan's in. The district speaks. No room for stars that shine too weak. January's ours. Y'all can't sit. The NFC runs red. Let's share this shit.
Oh, share this shit. Beautiful ending to that poem there, KDot. And so here's the structure of this episode. We're going to jump into the All 22 review with KDot as we always do. We're going to talk about the potential playoff matchups that we have. And so as of right now, based on Vegas odds and favorites in the Week 18 matchups, it's Tampa Bay. So we'll talk about Tampa, we'll talk about the Rams, we'll talk about the Eagles, and then we get into the preview of the matchup this week at Dallas. We owe them a little something after they beat us earlier this year at our place. So we're going to break down that matchup, the predictions, comment, mailbag, and potentially an after the pod. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the All 22 review featuring our very own KDot.
It's the All 22 review on District Divided. Bitches!
And now, Nathan, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but the thing with KDot and the layer that he lives in and exists in is that he doesn't have just your typical one or two screens that people have. They'll have the multi-view. They'll have, maybe a couple games on. No, he actually doesn't even have 50 screens. He doesn't have 60 screens. The man has 70 screens so that he can fully digest and process everything that's going on. So, KDot, over to you. The game against the Atlanta Falcons, the OT walk-off win. What'd you see?
No, first off, still 65 of those screens are all dedicated to movies. I'm at 110 now, which is nuts, but I'm getting there. I just got to get them all done before the Oscar nominations. I want to know that I'm right about shit.
I just feel like you're like Morgan Freeman from Batman, right? Like he finds Batman's lair of all those TV screens, and you're that guy, right?
It's
like,
a good comp. I would say Morgan Freeman wishes he had the number of screens KDot did.
That's fair.
But yeah.
I mean, Morgan Freeman's character ended up not liking those screens, ended up walking away happy that I was dissolved. So I don't see KDot doing that.
There's privacy concerns, but I don't have those. All right. All 22 Falcons game. There was a lot to watch in this particular game, and it got a little overwhelming as I was kind of going through it because there was a lot of things I liked. There were some things that I was like, But once again, we're in that time of year where I want to stick to positivity more than I want to stick to anything else. So what I did was I found 5 key takeaways from the game, and I kind of go through them. They were keys to why it is we won, keys as far as things to watch going forward if we're trying to make this playoff push, okay? I'll try to do it in order of the things that are probably the most easy to see, and then we'll go to the ones that I probably took a little bit of nuance to get to. Number 1. Jayden's running. Immaculate in this game. I think everybody can understand that Jayden was on another level when it came to running. Anything that we've had as far as the concerns from the rib injury, whatever, they are gone. Now, we don't want to see him get hit as much. That was a little concerning even rewatching it. I still held my breath when he got rolled up. Never again, Jayden. Please, man, just don't do that. Just don't do it. But I think the thing that was really, really good as far as his running was when he was doing it and what it is that he diagnosed when he was doing it if it wasn't a designed run play, right? So Kliff was in his bag as far as the run game with the quarterback stuff, and I'll get to that as far as my second point. But as far as Jayden and just his decision-making on still keeping his head downfield, trying to make sure he threw the ball, trying to make sure the defense was still thinking, all right, he still could throw that ball, but just bouncing out and being not indecisive at all as far as when he was doing it. I think the keyest play as far as seeing that was the one in OT, the 3rd and 2. Unblocked defensive tackle comes right up the middle. Jayden sees it immediately. And you see that he knows exactly what he's going to do with it. There's no panic. There's no anything. It's the smoothest thing you've ever seen. He just does the little roll. He said, all right, fuck it. Rolling out. Matthew Judon. Oh, you trying to arm tackle me? Son, get out. And just like a gazelle. And working on the sideline. And then everybody saw the saunter out. Where it's like, that kind of seemed like taunting, at least to some degree. It was like, it was just like, yeah, I don't really care. Yeah, you're not going to touch me. That to me showed everything as far as the development of Jayden as a runner, right? He saw what was happening as far as the unblocked defensive tackle. There wasn't a whole lot of, all right, let me try to do the fancy footwork with everything. There's a lane, I'm going to go take it. Let's just go do it. Let's just go fucking do it. Loved it from him. And there were moments in the game where you absolutely saw it, but just that particular play, the athleticism, everything that you see about Jayden Daniels and his ability just from that toolbox that he has was just encompassed in that play. It was special. It's the closest thing I've seen like a Lamar Jackson type. Like that's the one that's going to be on his highlight reel forever. Forever. All right. Next up, Kliff Kingsbury and the design runs as far as the quarterback stuff goes. So you got no Noah Brown, no De'Ami Brown, no Austin Eckler. You lose Tyler Biadasz and Lucas in the mid game. You still are able to figure out and develop these runs and have all these layers when it comes to the blocking and get shit done. Kliff was in his bag, baby. This is the reason you start hearing him talk about head coaching shit. It's because he's feeling himself. He's fucking feeling himself this week, okay? That's what it is. This shit was awesome. And everybody knows the favorite play. Whatever it is that he's calling that counter in the second quarter, I think I heard Mark Bullock, I think I saw it on Twitter, he called it the super counter. I was like, yeah, I like the name of that, the super counter. You have the fake handoff to Rodriguez, then the fake end around OZ. Then Daniels is like, all right, cutting up. The defense is like you or me watching the tape. It's like, what is happening? Who's doing what? And then he's got 3 lead blockers. Rodriguez, after the fake handoff, he's go right up the hole. He's got Zacchaeus and Allegretti. They're off into the second level. It wasn't a huge play. It was only 5 yards, but as Jayden ran up and went out of bounds. But what it did more than anything else was it forced Atlanta to then really, really take into account what was happening as far as the quarterback runs. They could not sell out against the running back runs as much as they wanted to because they didn't know from which angle or anything anyone was coming from. We talk about earlier in the season when he had Eckler and everybody there on the offense. What was really, really cool about it is that you had no idea what was coming when. And this felt like a throwback to those early weeks in the season where it was like Kliff is understanding who he can trust in what sort of situation, who he can give sort of responsibilities to. And one thing that I know that we talked about it earlier in the season when the Jahan Dotson trade and everything went out It is so crucial, and so awesome that you have wide receivers that really are willing to block. They want the contact. They want to do things. It's fucking cool. And as long as Kliff is going to see you in that bag, defense is going to have no idea what is coming to them if he continues to do these sort of bag tricks. I've never seen anything like that in my life. That super counter was insane, just immaculate shit. But yeah, read options, quarterback sweeps, the misdirection, it's just manufactured offense. It didn't allow them to key in on Robinson the way they wanted to. Washington could do anything they really wanted to on the ground at that point. All right, next up, let's see. So, all right, we'll go into, I'm going to kind of combine a couple things. So let's go as far as on defense. Let's switch over to defense for a second. First half, Bijan Robinson in Atlanta, kind of doing what they want to as far as on the running attack, right? We know, I think we even saw it on the keys, is that like they were going to have some opportunities that they ran on the outside. That outside zone against us. Haven't really figured out exactly what to do to combat that, right? So Atlanta was kind of doing whatever it is they wanted to do. First half, 17 carries, 101 yards, 2 tutties, 5.9 yards per carry.
Yeah.
And we're all sort of, this is how they beat us, right? Like this is how they're going to beat us. Second half, everything changes. Now, why is that? Was it what was happening as far as the game flow? Sort of, but not really. What really happened, and I don't know what's going on in defense, they just decided this is what they were going to do. Daron Payne starts lining up a DN. They start Jalen Holmes. Revelation, brother. You are a revelation, son. Like the guys that they've been having as far as like the Sheldon Day, who I still don't know. Once again, he can walk downstairs right now. I have no idea who the fuck that man is, okay? Jalen Holmes, I guess I know his body size or something from the All-22. I still don't know what his face looks like. But those dudes, Daron Payne being on the outside and what he was able to do from a physicality standpoint, they wanted Bijan Robinson to run and hit that edge. Daron Payne was blowing that shit up. And what it is they were doing as far as on the inside, Allen, Newton, Holmes, and that rotation was able to stuff up what they needed to in the interior. And it ended everything as far as Atlanta when it came to the rushing attack. The second half rushing stats for Atlanta, 4 carries, 22 yards, night and day. And that's all it took. Ron Payne lining up somewhere else in the fucking line.
Question for you, KDot. So do you see, there are a couple of things. One, do you see Daron Payne lining up at end and us doing something like this again? How much of it do you attribute to that move? And how much of it do you attribute to, we had 2 really, really long drives in that second half.
That was the next step.
You could, okay, go ahead.
No. So, like, of course, when I was saying, like, what happened as far as game flow, the biggest thing in the second half were the complementary football, the 2 really, really, really long drives. You had the one that 15 plays 69 yards and ended with a tutty, and the 14 plays 70 yards and ended with a tutty. The first one ate up 7 minutes, or his first one ate up 8 minutes, the second one ate up 7 minutes. That's a quarter of fucking football you just took over, right?
Yep. So,
yeah, there's absolutely an aspect of that helped. And we've talked about it as far as the complementary football. When it comes to this team, there really is a night and day difference as far as from an execution and non-execution part of it, right? Those long drives, even there were certain points on that drive where things sort of kind of putted out. There'd be a penalty, there'd be a play for a loss, and then things would kind of happen miraculously, or we'd get a break and it would continue. You want to be able to dictate a little bit more than that. It was a little uneasy, at least on the first drive from what I remember. It's either the first or second drive that was a little uneasy. I can't remember the order of operations. But some things had to kind of break our way. It wasn't as clean as you'd want it to look, but conceptually, that's exactly what you want to do, right? It's the purest definition of complementary football to the fullest extent that you could do it. You remember there was like last season, the year before, those like we had those really, really, really long drives, and everybody's like, wow, that's what we want to do. Every team wants to do that. Right. Like, you'd love to be able to do that. How it is you get to that point and not shoot yourself in the foot the entire way through and not just want to take some shots down the field. It did speak to, like, look, they weren't perfect, but the amount of plays they had in, there was an execution level that was better in this particular game than it has been in weeks for me, especially on the offense.
Okay. No, that's really, really nice to hear. Nathan, any questions for KDot right now? I've already asked one, of course. Any questions you have on the All-22 review?
Not really questions. I just want to point out, when you're talking that game flow and the long drives and how that worked out for in Washington's favor, it was only a 17-7 lead that Atlanta had going into halftime. So the pressure ended up being on them when Washington takes up the 7 minutes and 47 seconds and scores a touchdown. Now that's only a 3-point lead. And Atlanta felt pressure to do something at that point because that Washington's this second half is going to come at you and you need to continue putting up points. And they're unable to. It was Brian Robinson to left for 1 yard, Penix to London for 4 yards. And then Penix got sacked by Fowler, fumbles the ball, Atlanta recovers it, and then they end up having to punt it out. So a 3 and out. And then Washington goes down with another 7-minute drive, gets the lead, and Atlanta now pressured to try to get there, can't really run Brian Robinson as much, and that's exactly how that drive ended. The second drive ended for Atlanta. It was a pass, run, pass attempt, and then Penix sacked, this time by Armstrong, fumbles it, Atlanta recovers it. So I really felt like that game flow did play into Washington's defensive strengths, where they knew, Atlanta knew it had to put points up on the board, and they got out of their comfort zone. And in those 2 drives, you only had, what did I say? That was 2 Robinson rushes there. There was 1 in the second drive and then 1 in the first drive. And so Washington always wanted this to be Michael Penix, you've got to beat us.
Right.
And Michael Penix was not up to the task on those 2 drives. He was dealing on the drive they tied it up. So kudos to him on that one. But that was exactly where Washington wanted the game to be the entirety. And they didn't get there until that second half. So fantastic work, both from the offense and the defense working together at complementary football.
Yeah, the complementary football is absolutely key in this particular game. Like, it's the one thing that really shines above maybe anything else. I mean, there are things that I might have liked to look at, but the complementary football was very, very was incredible to look at. But yeah, I mean, the Bijan Robinson stuff, even in the short times that they did decide that they were going to run the football, they didn't really have any success with it, right? So, like, I do think there was an angle of just looking at it from a defensively matchup standpoint. Dante Fowler has been really, really good as far as in the pass rush game. He is a liability when it comes to the run game. It's just what it is, especially if you're going to attack as far as that outside zone. He just doesn't have the physicality needed to do what he needs to do as far as the running attack. Boy's fast. He likes to get downfield, and those are all good things. But I don't know what it is they're going to do as far as whatever rotation they have later on. But I do think that if we come up against a team that wants to run sort of that outside zone, you're probably going to see Payne on the outside again. But key to what it is that Nathan said, and key to what happens a lot of times across this league, and I know I've talked to it a little bit before early in the season, offensive coordinators do everything they possibly can most of the time to shoot themselves in the foot. They get a little too clever. They get a little outside of themselves. They go away from what's working. It's why defensive coordinators can do that too. It's why I love the Patriots and Bill Belichick. They always said, hey, we can beat you with this. We're going to keep doing this until you prove. Not even doing one drive. You got to do maybe 3 drives in a row. Stop us from doing this thing. Otherwise, we're going to keep doing this thing. No reason to overthink it. And I think a lot of people do that. I love Zach Robinson. I love that Atlanta Falcons coach staff. But there are absolutely moments in time where you just realize when the pressure's on, they want to have that play. They want to have that moment. They want to put the ball in this guy's hands. And it's like, you don't need to do any of those things. Just stick with what works.
KDot, final question for me, and then we can flip over to looking ahead beyond the All-22 review. Daron Payne lining up at D end, was that only seen in, I guess I'll call them non-obvious pass situations? Could be pass or run. They're anticipating run, or was it also in obvious pass situations as well?
Well, that kind of changed as the game went, right? So it was like, as you start doing that earlier on, as far as even in the short amount of time, because once again, that 3 and out, and you don't see Atlanta's offense for a while again, right? But early on enough, you see the Payne lining up there, and then they get into a situation where they're just not running the ball as much. So you're not necessarily doing that the same with that you were doing. If they had leaned on it maybe a little bit more, maybe you would have seen more of Daron Payne out there on the outside. But you could just tell Atlanta at that point, Penix started kind of putting it together a little bit, and it was like, all right, we need Fowler there on the outside to generate some sort of pass rush.
Okay, cool. And with that was the All-22 review featuring our very own KDot. All right, and now moving forward, the Washington Commanders once again 11-5 on the season, 11-5 first time since 1991. We've had 11 wins, which is just so much fun. It's nice to have clinched a playoff spot ahead of the final weekend of the season. First time that's happened in quite a long time as well. And so with that, we can begin thinking about the playoffs. Who are we currently matched up against? Well, the answer is the Los Angeles Rams. But here's the deal. The Los Angeles Rams and Tampa Bay Buccaneers are capable of switching positions. And as of right now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are favored in their matchup against the New Orleans Saints, and the Los Angeles Rams are resting a bunch of guys, and they are projected to lose their 6.5-point dogs against the Seattle Seahawks. Should those two things happen, Tampa Bay wins and the LA Rams lose, they will switch spots. Tampa Bay becomes the 3 seed. We're currently the 6 seed. If we win against Dallas, we maintain the 6 seed. If we lose and the Green Bay Packers win, then we drop to the 7 seed, and that's a matchup with the Philadelphia Eagles. So, Nathan, I'm going to throw this over to you. Which matchup do you like the most, and which matchup do you like the least?
Well, first off, we're just not losing this weekend. That's just not going to happen. I just want to point that out there. So we get the 6th seed. So really my only options are between the Bucs and the Rams. I will say it though, if we end up in the 7th seed for whatever reason, whatever happens against the Dallas Cowboys, bring on them chickens up north. All right. We will definitely take down the Eagles. They'll lose in the first round. We're going to win in the first round. That's happening.
This is full throttle Nathan right here.
Lock it in. Lock it in. So as far as the matchup's concerned, when I was looking through these two and kind of thinking about this, because I think this is on everybody's mind right now. And when you sent me kind of the rundown of what was going to happen, you had listed the Bucs as who we were going to talk about. And my first question was like, no, we're slotted up against the Rams. And then you explained the Vegas odd things. Like, okay, I was going to ask because I needed to know that. So I was like, all right, let me look at it. One, I don't think the Rams are going to lay down against the Seahawks. So even if they're 6.5 dogs and they're resting a bunch of players, they're still a good team. I mean, they went on a 9-2 run here to close the season. I think a lot of people look at the Rams and they see a team that's not scoring a lot, and they're like, let's go up against that team because we can just outscore the Rams. But the Rams have a dude, okay? They got Stafford back there, and they've got 2 wide receivers. And I don't know if Washington fans remember the game against the Falcons. We don't have 2 cornerbacks right now. Now, if Lattimore plays, then that's great. Then we might have two cornerbacks who can kind of keep the wide receivers Kupp and Nakua at bay. But I don't really trust that part. I definitely think McVay is an excellent coach, and that offense could score 30 in a blink of an eye and win down. So I think the Rams are a scary team to face in that regards. It is also cross country. You're talking different time zones and everything. I think the only saving grace is one, that it'd be inside. 2, LA doesn't really have home field advantage, so Washington fans could potentially take over. You're going to have a lot of Jayden Daniels love because he's from California. Even in his time in Arizona, he might have some people from there. So I do think that we can pack the stadium, and that would be good. But the defense of the Rams is good, and the offense could explode. Don't look at the box score and see a bunch of under 20 scores and think, okay, they're ripe for the taking. They're still winning games, and they're winning games with not scoring 30 points because they have a good defense. So that's a matchup that I'm not particularly thrilled with. Now, going back to the Bucs and kind of replaying that first game of the season is interesting because the Bucs was actually one of the few losses where Washington lost handedly. Some of the other losses that Washington had in these 5 losses, they were still in it. They were still fighting. Even the first Philadelphia game, it felt like they were, kind of right there. And they just needed to put together 2 good drives, right? A good offensive drive, a good defensive drive, and they'd be right in there. They just couldn't do it. The Eagles kept scoring, and Washington fell behind. But the Bucs game, they fell behind early, and then they just kind of did good things, but they never got anything going. So it'd be interesting to see the growth of Jayden Daniels in this team from the first week to the second week. Now, the problem is they do have, Mike Evans, who is a fantastic wide receiver. And if you don't have Lattimore, you definitely don't want Davis or Benjamin St. Juste lining up against him. That's dangerous. And Sanders, still as good as he's been kind of looking a little bit more like a rookie these last couple of weeks. And I think I
literally think he's just not tall enough to guard Mike Evans.
He did good on AJ Brown, that one rep that plays over and over and over, right? Where he did the same thing against Smith there. But
man, Mike Evans been doing it forever.
Yeah, it's Mike Evans is a legit Hall of Fame candidate. I don't know if he'll get there because it's hard to get into the Hall of Fame as a wide receiver. You know, you just have to be super stellar. But I mean, the guy is on track to tie Jerry Rice's 1,000-yard receiving, and has a good chance to do it against the Saints this week. The thing is, Baker Mayfield has been hot, and that offense has been hot for the Buccaneers as well. Now, I know a lot of people are down on Baker Mayfield, and they say, "Oh, he can have turnover-worthy plays and everything like that." That's just a bunch of BS. Okay, turnover-worthy plays is one of the most BS. I love advanced statistics. I love all this stuff that goes into the analytics side of things. That is one of the most BS stats I've ever seen when it comes to football. Okay, turnover worthy plays, what do you mean by that? In this case, okay, maybe that ball could have been intercepted, or you had an interception dropped or something like that. It doesn't matter. Baker Mayfield is a dealer, and he's got the I'm gonna invoke the Hive a little bit. He's got that Taylor Heineke thing going. Okay, he's got moxie, he's got swagger to him, and if he gets going, that's a dangerous thing for Washington. And Washington's defense has been having issues. Also, the Buccaneers offense is better running offense too. We've had issues containing running. So it's going to be a rough matchup either way. I think Washington gets out of the first round in these, but if I had to pick, I probably want the Rams in this case, and hopes that Washington does get the Rams into a one-dimensional, because like I said, the rushing attack isn't as strong. It's weak, but it's not as strong as Irving down there in Tampa Bay. And if you can get Stafford in a situation where he has to pass, but you have your ears pinned back, I think that Joe Witt Jr. can do some things with that. Still risky, because Stafford can still sling it, and he's got two guys who can absolutely demolish, and a head coach, offensive-minded head coach that can scheme things around and Washington's playoff run.
Yeah, and so as you could pick up, guys, from Nathan's answer there, hey, welcome to playoff football, man. Sometimes it is sort of a like, hey, you got Matt Stafford, Super Bowl winning quarterback over there with Sean McVay against, and it's KDot's Rams, right? Like, that is something to look at. And then there's Baker Mayfield, a slightly lesser Taylor Heineke that is just so good right now.
I'm sorry, did you say lesser Taylor?
Why you gotta be disrespectful?
BC Sports Podcast, more specifically a Washington Commanders podcast. Yeah, he's a slightly lesser version of Taylor Heineke.
No.
This is
You don't need to put that bad.
I love Baker. Listen, Baker Mayfield's great. He's on fire right now. Baker Mayfield's on fire right now. Mike Evans, if he hits 1,000 yards again, we're talking about briefly
missing
his
games
Hall of
too,
Fame
by the way.
candidacy.
He's
Yeah,
missed
missing
a lot of
games.
games.
I mean, yeah, then the guy is getting very, very close to the Hall of Fame if he's not in already. And of course, Nathan also mentioned, hey, if we do happen to fall to the 7, which we won't, but if we did, bring it on. We're going to take the Eagles down. KDot, same question to you. The matchup you want and the matchup you least want. I'm sure you're fine with all of them, but rank those.
Kind of means what do you mean by fine? So like the number one, when we were doing a little pre-prod or pre-production meeting via the DMs on Twitter between the three of us, I thought it was highly disrespectful that we were only really going to prep for the Bucs and not my fucking Rams. I thought that was a level of disrespect in which I was like, which is why you see the Rams on this fucking overlay. He didn't want me to put it there.
Nathan, it was a subtle shot.
You piece of shit. I was like, no, nah. Jimmy G, baby, against Seattle. Give me them Rams. Give me them Rams. All right, whatever. All right. It's just lay off the disrespect. All right, now, as far as looking at the NFC playoffs, I'll tell you this, first and foremost. I don't like our defense against any team in the playoffs right now.
That's fair to say.
None of them. Like, I can look at every single one of these offenses and be like, that's how they beat us. Oh, and if they don't beat us that way, they can beat us that way. Like,
I don't like them for a half. I like them for the other half. One of the halves they're going to play well. They're either going to play well the first half, and then they're going to get dismantled in like the fourth quarter. With the way Jayden's playing, that in the first half and have some good adjustments.
I'm not going that far. I think that you can get a great half of them if we got the complementary football working. If not,
Sure.
If not, things can get ugly, and they can get ugly quick. Now, LA, I love the Rams. And if I'm looking at the matchups, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp against our secondary is scary hours. Scary hours. There are two dudes that will beat the everlasting shit out of you. And then they also got the deep threats. Demarcus Robinson will eat you up. Like, they got dudes. They got dudes that run these routes. And Sean McVay will be like, oh, yeah, we're going to exploit the shit out of these guys. That's where you see
the center of this defense. They love to go across the middle, and the middle of Washington's defense is weak.
And here's the thing, Mikey, you guys said that he was the thing with Mike Sanders that's still probably the biggest thing that he's got to figure out is his angles on tackling and being in the best position. He's out of position a lot. And I know that's just going to come with more reps, and he's learning, and he's also playing outside of a position that he usually plays. So there's learning curves of this. Rookie cornerbacks, they usually have to go through some growing pains. But if you're talking about those in routes and what it is they're going to do across the middle, I don't trust the secondary to make I don't see anybody really one-on-one as far as the cornerbacks tackling Puka Nacua. I don't see them being able to touch Cooper Kupp without him running out of bounds and taking a slide, right? So, that terrifies me. It absolutely terrifies me. Now, as far as Tampa Bay, I am still blown away that they're doing what they're doing. I thought that their season would be dead when Chris Godwin went away, and they're just still doing things. McMillan has become a guy. Evans is just having Evans has always been good, but there's almost like a resurgence of Evans, right? Like, he's like, all right, Godwin's out. I got to really step up the game. I got to do my thing. And he's been killing it. If Marshon Lattimore can play, do I feel good about the Tampa Bay matchup? Probably, because it's my favorite stat as a fantasy football guru, except for this year. Fuck fantasy. All right, in 14 games versus Lattimore, Evans is averaging 3 receptions, 52 yards, 7.95 fantasy points. Bullshit, terrible numbers. I like that. If I can get Lattimore and that Evans and get Evans, maybe you get an Evans ejection because Lattimore's just under his skin. Do I like that? Yes. So that's where you start grasping for straws as far as okay, what can we maybe do? Do I feel significantly better about the Bucs than I do the Rams? No, because even like Nathan said, Bucky Irving scares me as far as this defense goes. Rashad White catching the ball out of the backfield scares me against this defense. So just kind of pick your poison, right? The only thing I'd say that makes me want to have Tampa Bay, the only reason I'd lean Tampa Bay is more of a philosophical thing. I want to exercise the demons of the Dan Snyder era. Tampa Bay has kind of secretly been our playoff nemesis.
Yep, I was going to talk about that, but go ahead.
So 2000, we beat them. Everybody remembers that game. It was hell of a game. 2006, the loss. And it's fucking, what was it? That was a 2-point converted ball. Or he went forward to the end. And then 2021, everybody remembers Taylor Heineke, we did what we did. But I like that rivalry sort of thing that we have with Tampa Bay. I want to bury them. I just want to bury them. I want to get by them, and I want to continue to go. I don't want to get beat up by Tampa Bay. I want them to be the first thing to just lose to us and you keep going. I just want to exercise that. There has been that many. Every time we go in the playoffs, these fuckers right there. They're there. They're there. I hate them. I hate them. I like Baker, but I hate the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So that's the only reason I go for them. I am terrified of the Rams. They're still my Super Bowl pick.
Yeah, all right. And so, on the subject of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they have been our playoff nemesis, like KDot was mentioning. I do believe you maybe had the result
I flipped
swapped.
Yeah, my bad.
Flipped. But in 2000, we're up 13-0. They end up winning 14-13. And then in 05, or 06, we end up winning with the least number of yards on offense. Still, I believe, in playoff history. That's when Sean Taylor has the fumble recovery for the touchdown. Mark Brunell has about 30 yards. I mean, that was it. But we won. We won. It was absolutely crazy.
The fun bunch there.
Yeah. So that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I will say this in favor of a Tampa Bay Buccaneers matchup. Let's say we lock in the 6. It's either the Bucs or the Rams. What Jayden has done so far, because getting to the 6 line means beating Dallas, most likely. The only other scenario is we lose and the Packers lose to the Bears. That's not happening. So we win. Let's say we beat Dallas. Well, that means he would have gotten revenge on Philly. He would have gotten revenge on Dallas. And who did he lose to week 1 when he had the jitters and it was a 15-yard loss on his very first throw because it was a lateral backwards to B-Rob? I mean, this guy is known. He will eventually be known for, okay, you got me once. I'm going to get you the next time. So I think he would be pretty juiced for a matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I also think Marshon Lattimore, I don't know what the hamstring looks like, would be a little more motivated to come back because he loves Mike Evans so much. I do believe he's got that psyche about him where he's like, no, I'm good. And the doctor's like, nope.
Hey,
And he's
Marshon,
like,
that paycheck should get you enough. Play, you son of a bitch.
So there's that. I think I would still lean towards a matchup with the LA Rams if I could have it my way for a lot of what Nathan was saying, which is that, hey, from a home field perspective, I think we could have a lot of Commanders fans there. That sets up for a slightly more comfortable environment. And Jayden being from Cali, getting to go back to Southern California, I mean, that to me is an exciting storyline that I think does help. And I think that Stafford, when put in those obvious pass situations, once or twice may just have an errant throw. I think overall he'd have a really good game against us, just to be clear. But I think we may have enough with the special sauce of Jayden to be able to outgun a Rams defense that is also susceptible to giving up a whole lot of points. So I would slightly lean that way. I would be probably most excited for a Philly matchup, just to be totally honest, because, oh my goodness, the back and forth we've all had, I think I'd be most excited for it.
I would love to shut him up again.
Exactly.
Please, if that happens, I just so badly want to just shove that L down all the Eagles fans' throats.
This is why full throttle Nathan's here.
Oh God,
right.
I do feel like Washington has things like when we're talking a lot of, I feel almost negative about us making the playoffs and these teams, they could beat us in this way and this way. Here's the thing. Washington has a team that could really just beat every single team in the NFC, not just the first round matchup, but every single team that's in the playoffs. Washington has a favorable matchup somewhere. And now largely that's because JD5. Okay.
Right.
He just does things. And while he doesn't have playoff experience, and it is different than the regular season, he has these big moments that he's had throughout this season. And that Falcons game was essentially a playoff game, right? Again, different because it's regular season, but it was, kind of a win or go home type situation. And I trust Jayden Daniels in those situations. With 5, we're still alive, right? And so every single one of these matchups, we're talking about how like Washington might struggle. Let's talk about how they could absolutely dismantle. Okay. The Rams have a great defense, and they potentially could, hold Washington to a low score, but there's no way that they can consistently stop the attack from Washington. Who is going to stop we've seen it, right? If you focus on taking away Terry McLaurin, we have a wide receiver, whether or not it's OZ, whether or not it's Jameson Crowder. If De'Ami Brown comes back and takes the top off the defense in that regards, you have Zach Ertz, who finally had yards after the catch.
It was beautiful to see.
Oh, it was great. He was in the open field. I was like, go, Zach, go. Finally, right? He didn't just catch it and go to the ground. But you have, so Washington's offense has been able to, as you pointed out in the all 22 KDot, has been able to open up some of those playbooks. And you have, Kliff Kingsbury, who's feeling it right now and is auditioning for head coach jobs. It's not just what he's already done with Jayden Daniels, but he's trying to sit there and he's trying to show he's ready for the next head coaching position. Quick side note, I think he stays. But with the Bucs, they have a great offense. Baker Mayfield's dealing all that other stuff and whatnot. It's going to be a shootout, and Washington does well when it comes to shootouts, especially if the shootout doesn't start in the fourth quarter. Can we just not do that? Can we not wait to the fourth quarter to start scoring? Can we maybe do this a little bit earlier? Because if Washington's offense is going, we've seen it in that Cincinnati game. I mean, I know that's so long ago, right? But we saw where if they just keep going down and scoring and the other team tries to keep matching, it's going to be a who blinks first. And my bet is the Bucs blink first. And as far as the Eagles, they have a lot of issues. They have a lot of talent. You've talked about this, KDot, right? They're not a team. They're a collection of dudes, okay? And that is a big issue. And they have some serious question marks. And Hurts has been concussed not once, but twice against Washington. He was absolutely concussed in that first game. What did he say in his post-game presser? He's like, well, I guess I beat the protocols, right?
That's how you want to do it. Yeah.
He interviewed with Scott Van Pelt after that game with sunglasses on and tried mocking Van Pelt, but it was not really mocking. It was just trying to deflect the fact that this dude's head, his bell got rang. Okay. And then he got knocked the fuck out. Okay. Luvu knocked him the fuck out. And that, if that happens another time, a third time against Washington, he's for sure isn't going to beat the protocol. And Kenny Pickett's busted up. And there's no way McGee is going to beat Washington. So bring on the chickens, bring on the Bucks, or bring on the Rams. We're going to take them down.
I love that. That being said, I could see Tanner McKee doing a couple things against us. But yes, that was awesome.
I adore your confidence. It makes me feel really, really good as a Commanders fan. All I heard was Jayden Daniels needs to be the guy to beat everybody, and he's a rookie. And our defense sucks ass, depending on the day.
Our defense hasn't been able to play 4 quarters. I'll tell you that. Even the big wins, we talked about Tennessee being one of the only games they've played kind of a full game all the way around. You can throw the Arizona game. I felt was really strong for them as well. And personally, that's the one I think that was their best game all season. So they haven't put it together, but I like the adjustments that Joe Witt Jr. has been putting in for the defense. And that kind of in that same way that Jayden Daniels is like, you're not going to beat me twice, right? The Joe Witt Jr. in this defense kind of does the same thing. They've had a few shootouts, right? And they've had games where they've given up 30 points, but you've seen the adjustments. You've seen Daron Payne coming out. Not only that, but Jonathan Allen's coming back, guys. Okay. He played 42% of the snaps against the Falcons, right? He's going to play probably a little bit more here against Dallas, but the more he plays, the better this defense is going to be. I know a lot of people are down on Jonathan Allen, but he gives you that leverage to throw Payne to the outside on the potential rushing of Irving if you play against the Bucs, or stopping Saquon, who's going to have a rest day against the Giants. He's not going to go for the record, so I do feel like having Jonathan Allen back is going to allow Joe Witt Jr. to really play this defense. And all it takes is one stop.
Right.
If the offense is dealing, if JD5 is dealing, the defense doesn't have to play lights out, which they did against Philadelphia the first game. That was 10-6 going into the fourth quarter. Okay. They were feeling themselves, but they got tired. And the offense wasn't dealing. Okay. But all it took, it was an 8-point loss, right? All it would take is one stop. They just need one stop, and Jayden Daniels can put the game away. And I feel confident Washington's defense can do that. As long as Mike Davis doesn't see significant snaps. Doesn't see significant snaps, that they can do that. They can do that.
That's like the end of a pharmaceutical ad where it's just at the very end you're like warning these are the side effects of the following. But point taken. I mean, Jayden in the biggest moments.
We have a ton of salary cap space because we don't have a whole lot of talent. The coaching staff is making up for a whole lot of shit, and things can happen.
Anyway, we're recalibrating, and also to your point, Nathan, we're playing the Dallas Cowboys, and Jonathan Allen's going to get some more snaps over here. So why don't we go ahead and shift over to that game, and maybe later on we could even talk about Philadelphia's decision to sit Saquon Barkley, because I don't think that was a good idea. So let's first jump into the injury report over here to preview this matchup, to give you the context like we always do. So you can see Biadasz as of right now with the ankle, not practicing. So trending towards not playing. Same thing with Marshon Lattimore. If you listen to District Divided last week, we told you, hey, this guy's not going to play week 18. And then there's Cornelius Lucas, who's also not practicing. Tyler Owens not practicing. Then we got some limiteds and some fulls. You'll see Terry McLaurin, rest assured, he's going to play. Now let's go ahead and look at the Dallas Cowboys here. So just a couple did not practice over here. and not significant names, honestly. It's not going to be your Micah Parsons, who's limited, but he's going to play, or your Mazi Smith, even. He's limited, he's going to play. And so that's the extent of the injury report over there. So let's go ahead and jump over to the Commanders' offense against this Dallas Cowboys defense. And so, KDot, we go to you as we always do to begin this segment. What do you need to see for us to have success against the Dallas Cowboys defense?
Take the heart away from them early. I wish on that injury report they also had another column of who doesn't give a shit and is already in Cancun.
That's the thing. 60 minutes away from the Cowboy season being over, with the caveat that they have been playing really hard for McCarthy, for whatever it may be. They've been playing really hard and doing pretty well overall these past few weeks.
Jobs.
Yes.
Jobs. Look, so showing you the keys. Looks great, right? Looks fucking amazing. We should be able to do anything we want to do. It's the only thing is that that's not necessarily indicative of what they've been doing the last few weeks, right? It's over the course of the season they've been really, really bad. Yeah, this is a weird one. Like Tyler Biadasz should not play if it's up to me. Like this is certain guys. If you just need to get better, then fucking get better. I'd like to see Austin Eckler get involved or some sort. Like maybe he can come back and try to get something generated as far as the rushing attack, just to see what it is we can do come playoff time. But this is a game that I just want offensively us to end this shit pretty quickly. Now, how do you go about doing that? One would think just take your shots, but I don't necessarily think that that's in your best benefit. You gotta establish some sort of rushing attack or at least a short game attack. I keep talking about the boom bap of everything. Boom bap. Boom bap works as far as getting the play action and be able to take advantage of some one-on-one matchups when they start having to play against that run, right? Terry McLaurin, you got to get everything that we've seen that have been recipes for success on offense. You need to see all of it. Moving Terry around early, quickly, getting on the ball really, really early. In the last game, actually, I think I have the stats on this. Daron Bland, when we played in week 12, he lined up against Terry on 23 of 33 of his routes, and he allowed only 2 catches for 6 yards. Daron Bland did a good job. Now, when Terry wasn't on Bland, 3 catches for 96 yards and a tutty. So move him around. You got to just throw everything at him. We need to get them off balance. Like some of the stuff that we saw in this Atlanta game, some of the sweeps, some of the jet sweeps, some of the moving guys in motion. You just got to do everything you can do to get them off balance and get them off balance quick. And then take your shots when you can take them. You got to do it early. If you get this game into a situation where it's 10-0, 14-0, it's over. It's fucking over. Like, I want it to be a point where Micah Parsons is basically like, why am I here? Why am I playing this game? As a matter of fact, I want to play for those guys. Like, why am I here in this fucking game? You need to rip the heart out of this team as soon as humanly possible, in my opinion. And I think that there's an absolute ability to do that if we play along the lines of what we've seen the last few weeks offensively and just keeping things really mixed up really, really early. The other component that I would just is the execution piece. When you're talking about doing these things as far as the motions and as far as getting guys line, it's a lot. And I would say that this team, and a lot of times this has been the game plan, but we shoot ourselves in the foot constantly. If you look at the last game against Dallas, I mean, maybe we should even have our own segment about special teams in this particular game.
I know.
Jesus Christ, that terrible. But that's all part of the execution stuff. I was listening back to our All 22 that we did on the Cowboys game, and I kept screaming execution. Is that everybody on the offensive line had a fuck up at some point. You had drops that were happening. You had Terry McLaurin, who even had but he had a couple fuck ups. Like there was a curl route that I remember he caught and then tried to do something, but he ended up going for a loss. And
he broke the tackle and then was back.
And then went backwards. It's like there's just an amount of like, dudes, you got to get your head in the game. There's also the running element. If you look at week 12, was not great. But if you look at that game, that's when B-Rob went down. He did come back, but he went down, and that's when Eckler goes out, right? Yeah. They didn't really establish it. When Robinson initially went out, they tried to use Eckler in the same way that they used Robinson. That wasn't working. They didn't trust necessarily McNichols or Rodriguez at that point. Maybe that's different. I don't know if both those guys or any of those guys are actually activated depending on who's coming back. So it gets kind of interesting. Do I think we'll have more success with the run game this game than last game? Yeah, just from an injury standpoint. But also the other element, even though Jayden did have a pretty good game on the ground last time against him, I think it was 70-some yards in the tutty. There wasn't a whole lot of design runs and stuff that we've been seeing recently. This was still in that gray area or gray zone where it's like, all right, we're not entirely sure if his ribs are completely healthy. He's not looking quite right. If we can get some of the design runs, quarterback run stuff going, I just think that keeps Dallas confused as fuck and it'll allow you to take the shots when you need to take it.
Touching on the lack of run game last time around, Austin Eckler, 9 carries, 22 yards, is 2.4 yards a carry. Brian Robinson, 5 carries, 13 yards, 2.6 yards a carry. Also had the quick throw from Jayden, which he bobbled, that got picked. And then Jeremy McNichols, 3 carries, 22 yards. Not bad, but not enough carries over there. Nathan, over to you. What do you need to see on this side of the ball?
I think you're absolutely right as far as, getting ahead of them, KDot, because the Cowboys offense, which we'll talk about in a moment, is not the same offense that it faced a few weeks ago. So if the Commanders offense can get ahead, and I know that's the game plan for everyone, right? Pin your ears back and be able to do something there, but you need a score. The run game is going to be interesting because as you kind of broke it down, the only one who had success last time against the Cowboys was Jayden Daniels. The rest of the running backs did not. Now, part of that was a B-Rob injury. My concern with the rushing attack this time is how creative can Kliff Kingsbury be for this one? Even if Eckler comes back, which I doubt, honestly, I feel like they're going to save him for the playoffs for a couple of reasons. One, he doesn't have to be activated to the roster, which means you don't have to make a roster move, right? Until you get to the playoffs. Gives him one more week to get healthy with that concussion and everything. And I don't think you need him to beat the Dallas Cowboys. So I think Eckler's not going to play. So that's going to leave you with Brian Robinson, Chris Rodriguez, and McNichols. And you've got to really, a lot of people think it's like C-Rod or B-Rob because they're very similar. They're going to run into somebody. They're going to get a few yards type guys. You just, it's not one or the other. Run both of them and use them in similar ways, but different ways. Chris Rodriguez does a nice job at just one cut and up. Brian Robinson finds the hole a little bit better, I think. And then he is just so good after contact, right? Like it's not as easy to arm tackle Brian Robinson, but Chris Rodriguez does a good job just hitting the holes when he finds them. And so if they could run both of those and not have to rely on Jayden Daniels' magic, I feel like Washington's offense can get away with there. I like the idea of moving Terry McLaurin around. I don't feel like this game, the previous game against the Cowboys, was obviously 2 interceptions, wasn't Jayden Daniels' best. And I think that he was kind of getting him to himself in that one. So I feel like this is going to be a game Jayden Daniels has learned a little bit more. He's playing a little bit healthier, and I expect the offense passing attack to be stronger than it was before, even if you're missing some of the guys that he normally would target. Terry McLaurin and just anybody for Jayden Daniels, showing up would be fantastic. So expect Jayden Daniels to do better passing and expect, I think, in my opinion, a lot more on the ground than what you saw that first week.
Yeah, no, good call there. Sure. And what I would also say is this may be a game where I agree with you guys that Tyler Biadasz, hey, if he needs to sit, let him sit, right? He needs to rest, he needs to recover. I think we've also seen changes in the run game when he's not been there. It's not been as effective, in my opinion. So this may be a game where sort of what KDot said last week, which is his player of the game was the other receiver not named Terry McLaurin that shows up. It might be something like that again, just to help your offensive line that may not be as good against a pretty talented Cowboys front. So it may be quick passing to open up the run as opposed to run to open up the pass, because then we run into issues like we did last time. So that's the only little thing I'll add over there. Let's go ahead and flip the script and let's talk about. Yeah, sure.
I do believe that the rushing attack, along with what Nathan said, will be very different than what we saw in the first time. The reason the onus to me is to score early, score big, just get the points out. I'd love to see Marcus Mariota end this game. And what I want is I need as many of these guys going to the playoffs as possible. But I also need them to be on a high going into the playoffs. If it ends up being a really close game and the starters are in for longer than expected and we sort of win by a score against Dallas, I just don't know if this team feels it and got that swag the same way going to playoffs if they don't.
I'd push back on that and just say job done. They did what they needed to do and they beat Dallas. I think it
also depends on when they beat them by that one score, right? Because we've seen this team get really pumped about coming back and beating an opponent. But I do think, KDot, to your point, they've also been mad at themselves. Look at the Saints game where they only won by a point. They weren't happy, but that meant that they were playing mad that very next game, right? So, I mean, it's if they don't play up to their potential and they think that they are absolutely the better team, right? They think, I mean, if they think they're a better team than Philly, Brian Robinson said they think that he thought that, right? They definitely think they're better than a Dallas Cowboys team that is missing several key players, right? Yes. And you might not even see Micah Parsons very much because, like you said, he's probably thinking about moving on and getting franchise tagged next year, right? So I think maybe he has one more season. He's looking for a payday is what he's looking for. Yes. And so he's not really into this game, in my opinion. We'll see how it plays out in reality. But this Washington's going to have swagger going to the playoffs no matter what. What I don't want them doing is being too full of themselves.
Right.
This very easily could be similar to the Eagles score 41-7 over the Cowboys last week. And if I don't feel like they would go in with as much swagger as if they feel like we need to do better in this area, or if they come back and they win in a crazy fashion.
I just think it's different in playoffs.
Sure. Let's go ahead and flip the script. We can continue to talk about the matchup as a whole as well, but I want to get to the Commanders' defense against the Cowboys' offense. And so the Cowboys' offense under Cooper Rush is different from a Dak Prescott-led Cowboys' offense. As you can see, it's a lot less of just in the gun, you're picking teams apart, stuff like that. It's a bit more under center. It's a bit more traditional, something you'd see more in the 90s, early 2000s, stuff like that. You've got a fullback. There's a play action pass. No CeeDee Lamb. It's very important to say no CeeDee Lamb. That is a very, very big part of this game because last time all we had to do was guard him. We couldn't. This time we won't even have to. So, KDot, back to you. What do you need to see on this side of the ball to have success against the Cowboys offense?
Domination. CeeDee Lamb being out makes this unfair matchup, in my opinion, even with the defense playing at a level at which I don't necessarily have the most confidence in our defense unless the offense is doing well. But this game without CeeDee Lamb, Cooper Rush ends up being, let him try to beat you. Like, this is one of those games where, like, look, Cooper's done pretty good in man coverage, but once again, almost all these stats are going to take into consideration that CeeDee Lamb is on the fucking field, right? So, like, him being off the field, the only game that we have to really compare it to is last week, and they sucked ass, right? So, like, this is a game where I think more than anything, they're going to want Rico Dowdle to beat you. So this is sellout against the goddamn run. And if Cooper Rush wants to try to beat you, let him fucking do it. Like, this is one of those games where you got to pin your ears back. You just got to play fundamentally good, sound football. Dowdle and Tolt cannot beat you. You cannot let the bloodletting happen in that way. You can't do it, which gets me to a really interesting thing, which is, if Marshon's not playing, you're going to have a decision between Davis and St. Juice. And the more I watch all 22, the more I watch anything, it's a cost-benefit analysis when using either one, okay? Dallas does have some speed as far as some of the wide receivers goes. Kevontae Turpin, we are all familiar after that goddamn kickoff return, right? Mm-hmm. He can beat you. He can beat you deep. Benjamin St. Juice, regardless of what anybody wants to hear about it, is better in coverage than Michael Davis. I don't think it's close. But Davis, much better against the run than Benjamin St. Juice. What do you want to do? How do you do it? To me, it's got to be almost an even snap count, at least to some degree, depending on what it is they're doing what they're doing offensively. But I'd say at least early on in the game, I'd probably see a lot of Michael Davis just to shut down the run, just to take it away from them, just to eliminate the opportunities for them to even try. I want that to be something that gets eliminated. If the offense scores the way that I want them to score, and they put the ball in Cooper Rush's hands, and they're like, hey, you got to be the dude to do it. Whether they got Trey Lance on the team, so right?
Yeah, he could see some time.
Success would be Trey Lance in the third quarter. Like, that to me is what I'm leaning towards. That's what I want. I want to see the defense have to me, it's much more important that the defense has that like stifling performance. The offense, I just need to be in a rhythm, right? Go into the playoffs with a rhythm. Know that you can execute on a high level. Just have that. But defensively, I need to know you motherfuckers know you're better than them. They don't have CeeDee Lamb. Dominate them. Be physical and dominate these dudes.
Nathan?
Yeah, the CeeDee Lamb being out is going to absolutely be the key here. I don't think Cooper Rush is a bad quarterback, but I think he relied on the talent of CeeDee Lamb, and you can kind of see that in the Eagles game from the week before. So if you sell out against Dowdle in the rushing attack, look for Ferguson and Schoonmaker to be the leading receivers for, which are the tight ends for Dallas, because he is just going to try to get that ball out on these short ones. Now, that being said, they do still have like Brandon Cooks and Tolbert and Turpin who could potentially take a deep ball. And I do expect, because Washington, especially early, is going to be aggressive in stopping the run, look for Mike McCarthy to try to take a deep shot somewhere. So hopefully, you have the players in place, Quan Martin or the defensive backs are doing a good job trailing their guy and not allowing Cooper Rush to get one of those completions. Because if they get a deep pass completion, that's going to completely change how Joe Witt Jr. tries to tackle. Maybe you don't sell out against the run because Cooper Rush beat you that one time. And then you open yourself up to Dowdle getting a few yards. He actually did fairly well against the Eagles, even though it was a huge blowout loss. I don't see where those rushing yards came from, but he ran for 23 carries for 104 yards in that game, and expect probably a lot of him early on. So if you can sell out against the rush and stop Dowdle from beating you and putting it in Cooper Rush's hands, and then being able to, effectively just make that a 3 and out every time, maybe a 4 or 5 out, depending on what Schoonmaker or Ferguson can do, you're going to slowly put this game away to where we're going to see Trey Lance early. And that is an absolute victory for Washington. And I think that Dallas would be eager to see what Trey Lance has. So if the game's not going their way, even if it's only, 20-7 game going into the third quarter, expect Dallas to kind of shift gears and be like, you know what, we're playing for next year. We've seen, let's see what Trey Lance can do. Maybe Cooper Rush walks and whatnot. And so we've seen that before. Dallas is in a weird spot for picking. No one tanks, right? No, the players themselves don't take. They got to put on good tape. The Mike McCarthy's job, I think, is secure, which I love personally. He's a step above the clapper, but not too far ahead this late in his career. Okay. But he's secure of his job. He knows that. Jerry Jones has given him hugs, and they felt really good, except for this game against the Eagles. So for him, he's like, what can I do going there? So Trey Lance, expect him early on. Expect to maybe see some of these guys, who Brandon Cooks maybe doesn't play the full game either, or maybe he's there for security for Trey Lance. But yeah, I think this game for the defense, they're going to find a rhythm that's going to make them feel good going into the playoffs, which I like to see.
So the only thing I'll add here is, KDot, you got me interested in the idea of Daron Payne playing at edge or playing in that end spot just to help stop the run a little bit more. It allows an Allen and Newton to be there as well, or a Jalen Holmes to be there. Like you were saying, Sheldon Day, hopefully you get to see his face sometime soon. Like I think that really, really helps so that we go against Cooper Rush. And without CeeDee Lamb, I'd be curious to see, is he targeting those tight ends, Schoonmaker and Ferguson, like Nathan saying, is he taking some chances against maybe a Mikey Sanders still, hopefully? Or, St. Just has the length. Maybe it's just an off throw. He gets one.
DPI.
It's probably, DPI was probably. The only thing I would say is that I'm not as certain. Jerry Jones is he's loyal. Let's be clear. So, I think it's more likely than not Mike McCarthy comes back, but I'm not certain of that. And the way that these guys have played, I don't know that they're certain of that. And they're doing everything they can to bring him back. So let's see what happens in this game. And with that, let's go over to the predictions, as we always do. Oh, no, you're good. Where you can see the Cowboys are 7-9, the Commanders and KDot, both 11-5. I am 9-7. So KDot, beginning with you. As always, I need a score. I need a winner. I need a player of the game.
Run the table. I've been right so far.
You have.
Look, as long as he didn't mention it, 2 missed extra points, a missed field goal, the Turpin touchdown, the onside kick return for a touchdown. All those things happened in that last
craziest 5 minutes.
It was the dumbest goddamn game I've ever seen in my life. It made no fucking sense. I don't expect things to go anywhere near what it is that we saw in that particular game. I think Washington takes care of business. They do it early. I don't think Dallas gives a shit about this game. This is nothing they can do to really impact us. It's not like they can bounce us out of the playoffs, like that kind of thing. They know we're going. They're not. Who gives a shit? all that said, 28-17.
28-17. Washington player of the game?
Luke McCaffrey.
All right, finally.
Luke.
He gets connected with Marcus Mariota in the second half.
Of course. Of course. All right. And over to you, Nathan.
Yeah, this one, Washington made a lot of mistakes that first game, and I don't think they're going to repeat that. I'm predicting a big game both on offense and defense. We're going to go 34-17. And I don't like that score. 34-12 is how I'm going to put it down here.
Okay.
It's just going to be fairly good to near dominant on both sides of the ball. I feel Washington's the better team at this stage of the season. I feel Dallas is really just looking to put tape on for next year, not really caring about this game as much. Outside of it's a division game. They've talked about it, though. This isn't a rivalry the way the fans feel. I want to take Dallas's heart out. I love the fact that the average Dallas fan has tuned out. They might have watched the Bucs game, but they were eliminated from the playoffs before that game. They probably watched it because it was Sunday Night Football. They have not watched the game since then. They don't care. Now the players don't care. Take it away. Send them packing. Send them fishing. Dominate this one. My player of the game. Second half, you're going to see a lot of Chris Rodriguez runs. I'm going to say he goes over 100.
All right. Love that prediction. So we got 34-12 Washington, Chris Rodriguez going over 100 yards. I also have us winning this game. I didn't mention it earlier. We're 6.5 point favorites on the road, and the over-under is 44.5. I think the game is close-ish, but we end up pulling away, and then it is quite comfortable. So I do think the final score is going to be 27-17 Washington. So, Kid, I think you said 28-17. I'm 27-17. So right there with you. And player of the game
went with KDot, which makes me feel good because he's got a better record than you.
Yeah, he's doing great, huh? The moment he said run the table, this guy's been. All right. And OZ, player of the game, he keeps a good thing rolling. So Olamide Zaccheaus is going to be my player of
avoid the helmet, OZ. Could you just not have the ball near your helmet, please?
Yeah, that'd be great. And now we go to bet of the week. KDot, what you got for us?
Don't bet on week 18 in the NFL unless it's the Minnesota-Detroit game. Incentives you can lean on a certain degree, but I'm starting to see some of these teams really don't give a shit the way that they probably should give a shit. I actually think maybe some ownership are like, don't play that guy. Like
Mike Evans, 5 catches, 85 yards in the other game. Bet on that. They're going to keep that thing going.
Oh, yeah. Bet on Mike Evans breaking the record. That I would say probably your
bet on Mike Evans.
Baker Mayfield even said it. Like, we're not going for it, but he's like, if we win the game, it's because Mike Evans has like 100 yards, right?
Baker
like,
knew the yardage total 3 weeks ago.
That's the Baker of it all. Yeah, I trust Baker to get some stuff done. But if you go on Twitter right now, you could see everybody has a list at some point to look through the incentives. If you're going to play anything this week, start looking through that. I know that Zach Gertz has some stuff on this for this side. I'm not betting on it. Well, I'm not publicly betting on anything in the game. I am once again an addict, and I will have money on everything. But you will not hear what I had money on.
What's left for him to be incentivized? He just hit 3 incentives with the touchdown catch against the Falcons.
There was on one of these lists. There was other
Zach Ertz.
Zach Ertz. He made $750,000.
Yeah, he could make another. But the numbers are crazy on it. Don't bet on.
Yeah,
that.
if he gets 9 receptions, he gets $250,000. If he gets 90 receiving yards, he gets another $250,000. If he gets 2 receiving touchdowns, it's another $250,000. Also, is just looking at other command, and depending on the sports book, you could actually bet on sacks and tackles. I do that because I'm a degenerate. Dorrance Armstrong, if he gets another sack, $250K, and Dante Fowler, if he gets half a sack, $375,000.
I like that Fowler one. I'm not so sure about Armstrong's though.
Yeah, hey, both former Cowboys getting to do it at Jerry World. That would
and
be
both
something.
of them, like I said, they did end those 2 Falcon drives in the second half.
They did. They must have known about the incentives. So let's go over to the comment mailbag, as we always do, featuring an intro from our very own Nikki.
Comment mailbag time, motherfuckers. District divided, ain't got time for no suckers. Spread the word, get in line. OGs and new G's, it's your time. And spread the gospel, cause this shit is divine. Yeah.
And thank you, as always, for that, Nikki. We begin with Big Papa Grizzly. Shout out, Big Papa. In all my years of being a fan of this team, I have never seen a team this good. That field goal try had me nervous, but as soon as we won that coin toss, I knew it was game over. Ertz catches that final touchdown, and I'm screaming with tears running down my face. Bask in it, gentlemen. Life as a Washington fan hasn't been this good in a long time. Hashtag HTTR. Hashtag HTTC. Hashtag Hail yeah. Hashtag share this shit. KDot, your reaction.
I had a conversation about the first piece of that a few weeks ago with somebody. Was this the best Washington team I've seen? It's the best record, of course. It's a factual thing. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say like an emphatic no. It's just we didn't have a Jayden Daniels. And I love this coaching staff. But from a talent standpoint, you tell me you wouldn't love to see Pierre Garçon or Santana Moss, Clint Portis in this backfield. Get the fuck out of here, boy. Like this, or like I love Bobby Wagner. He ain't London Fletcher in his prime, at least not right now. Like there are definitely some things where I'm looking like it, and that's what's frustrating to me. It's so frustrating to look back and be like, yo, we had some talented teams. It didn't mean shit. Like it didn't mean a goddamn thing. And there's never been a team that we have ever had that I feel more excited for the future, including 2012 when it came to RG3, because you just knew in the pit of your heart it wasn't going to work out.
If you could play that team with that coaching staff against this team with this coaching staff, what do you think happens?
Well, we might
one team has a quarterback with special sauce.
We go up against Minnesota in the conference championship game. You got KOC who is on that coaching staff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Something to think about. We can go after the pod with it, but just wanted to put that out there. Let's go over to Junior Nemhard over here. Shout out. Man, the Olamide Zacchaeus Revenge Tour was not on my bingo card, but the Slim Reaper, a.k.a. Jayden Daniels, was our greatest rookie ever. Some more hashtags. Hashtag HTTR. Hashtag HTTC. Hashtag raise hail. Nathan, I'll throw this one to you. Slim Reaper as Jayden Daniels' nickname. How are you feeling about that?
Isn't that taken already? I'm pretty sure
it is by two different athletes.
Yeah. Who's the other one?
So there's Durant, and I want to say Devontae Smith, like you were saying. So yeah,
I like Durantula for Durant, but I mean that was all the way back in his OKC days, and I am a Thunder fan, so maybe that's why I like that. Slim for him. Yeah, I've heard a bunch of nicknames for Jayden Daniels. I'm sure one of them's going to stick. The fact that he just glides through, players is probably going to end up coming up. Unfortunately, his first name's not Clyde, so he can't steal Drexler's nickname there. But OZ coming out, I was about to say Oz, and that was the mistake. Kliff has
don't want to do that. That's the whitest mistake ever.
The whitest mistake ever. I've been doing, and I am white, and I've been doing it all season long. Finally get corrected. Thanks, Kliff, for letting us know it's OZ. But yeah, OZ Revenge Tour was pretty good. And it's nice to see him. He was somebody I thought was going to be much better going into the season, but he's kind of been relegated down to the fourth wide receiver. It's good to have Jayden Daniels, I think, has faith in all of them. And so whatever he comes up with as a nickname, I feel like he's going to elevate whoever's on the other side of the ball. So who do we got on a revenge for the Bucs or the Rams that might be able to stand out? That's the question.
That is the question. All right. No, I like that line of thinking there, Nathan. If we go over to Prince Anubis, shout out. Something has to be done with the refs holding the play for substitutions. In multiple games, we had to burn a timeout because of the amount of time afforded to defenses subbing slowly. What is your guys' opinion? KDot, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Nathan.
I have not liked the emphasis on this just because I remember growing up, offense, they got to wait to defense. Like, I love that aspect of it. There was some gamemanship there, but I also know that they've been enforcing this for a little while now, and I'm going to put this on our offense not getting shit done in time. So, like, and we've seen this sporadically throughout the season that they're kind of late to get shit in. We know earlier on the season how many times Jayden was emphatically getting to the sideline, get the fucking play in. So I'm definitely going to put that more on us, and we need to have a better system in place going forward. Every team has to deal with this shit, and other teams don't deal with the ramifications of it the same way that we have in certain degrees. I mean, other teams are definitely worse. I've definitely seen that it feels like Thursday Night Football every week. This is bullshit when it comes to that, but it's like, we just got to do a better job. The rules are the rules, man.
Cool. Nathan, over to you.
100%. This is on Washington, right? They tried their gamemanship in this, right? They're the ones who are also substituting with little time on the clock. So if you're the defense, make them pay. Make it so that way Washington has to burn a timeout. So Washington needs to react and start getting the substitutions in with enough time. The defense is going to get their substitution regardless. So that, and they're going to take their sweet ass time. So get that in early. Your best bet is to keep a hurry up offense anyways with low substitutions or getting to the line quick and snapping it before the defense has a chance. Even if they have the substitution, we've seen it a lot where they get the substitution in, the defense does against Washington, and there's still confusion on where they have to be because it's a different alignment than what they were expecting with that same personnel that was out there. And so you just need to keep moving the ball. So substitute, get to the line, snap the ball. That's what you need to do. Bim bop bap. What do you call it?
Boom bap.
Boom bap. Okay. Do it every single time. Get there. Don't wait. Don't try the gamemanship and wait till there's 10 seconds and slide somebody out because the defense is going to make you pay. And those timeouts are going to be valuable. Not necessarily against Dallas, but in the playoffs, again, different type of feel. And if you burn those timeouts because you are trying to be funny with your substitutions, you're going to pay. So this is 100% on Kliff Kingsbury and the offense.
We got Coach Lombard with not one, but two comments over here. I'll read both of them and then let you guys react. Coach, first comment. Congrats on the win versus Atlanta. Credit to Jayden. He carried Washington's ass for 2 weeks and is a top 5 dual threat QB in the league. A legit rivalry would be cool. Best of luck at Dallas. That's the first comment. And the second comment is, my point was that there are still 49ers fans who bitch about the Purdy injury in 2024. To your point, I want to be nothing like 49ers fans. If I'm still bitching about the Hurts injury next season or 2 seasons from now, feel free to call me on my shit. KDot, let's begin with you, your reaction.
I hold you to a higher standard, Coach. You should have been bitching about it at all. Okay. And the 49ers fans, yeah, they're all being assholes. They were bitching about it. I just don't run into a lot of 49ers fans, I guess. I guess you do, or you're seeking it out. I don't know. It's just not, it's not something that I see. I do hear you guys. I hear you guys with everything. You're very, very loud. Very, very annoying. Yeah, I want better of you. But if you're complaining about it 2 or 3 years from now, I'm just going to write you the fuck off.
I mean, 2 seasons from now over a regular season game would be something. Yeah, Nathan, over to you.
Yeah, it's a non-burger. I mean, it is a what if game. What if we go back to 2012? What if RG3 doesn't, bend his leg on the field up 14-0 against the Seahawks, who, by the way, I feel is the playoff rivalry that Washington has because they've ended 2 of our playoff runs, and I hate the fucking Seahawks. Not as much as I hate the fucking Eagles coach, though. I really hate them. Thanks for the Dallas push, though. That's really generous of you to cheer us on. By the way, Jerry Jones about an hour ago on 105.3 The Fan told them that they won't reveal who the starting QB is against the Commanders until Sunday. Trey Lance may be the quarterback starting for the Cowboys. Even better. So, Coach, thanks for the props. Hope to see you in the playoffs or not. You guys go out in the first round and we don't. That'd be fantastic too.
Yeah, and in the after the pod, we will talk a little bit about the Saquon Barkley decision. Just a heads up for those that are listening. We go to Jim Morris. It's time to stop comparing JD5 to anyone else. He is something unique and never seen before in the NFL. Most likely will bypass all the others by the time his career is over. That's a loaded list, KDot. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I keep thinking to what I've been doing over here. I've been kind of distracted because I'm
no.
Shut up. I've been doing the thought exercise as far as like, could this team beat other teams in the past? Like, I've been really thinking about it, and I'm really realizing that like the only piece that I really it's Jayden, and the reason is like even when we're talking about the playoffs and everything, this dude's rewriting the book. I don't know what to compare it to anymore. It's the only way that we know how to do anything when talking about football or trying to do any sort of prognostication about what's gonna happen. Right? You got to compare it like, all right, what has happened historically? What does this look like compared to what did that look like? Right? It's the only thing you can really do. And Jayden feels like he's rewriting the books. Like I was thinking about even last year, there was a portion of Jordan Love where even though it was his first time in the playoffs, there was like, it almost seemed as though he was too ignorant to even realize he was playing in a playoff game.
Yeah.
Like he was just kind of doing shit. And I think Jayden kind of has that mind. I don't know if Jayden's ignorant of it. I just think Jayden treats every moment like it's the biggest fucking moment. So like there's playing in a Super Bowl might not be any different than playing Dallas in week 18. And if that's the mentality he's going to have, cool. Like, all right. But it's really hard to get there. It's really, really hard to get there without like inventing a chip on your shoulder or doing whatever it is that motivates him. He just wants to be the best. I think that what we heard in the comment mailbag last week, as far as him just being the assassin that he is, that might be it. But like, yeah, with Jayden at the helm, you don't know what's going to happen. We saw a rookie put the team on his back multiple times this season. Could he do it in a playoff run? Yeah. Would I bet on it? Probably not, but I might lose money. I'd be completely okay with it.
Nathan, over to you.
Yeah, I feel actually for Jayden Daniels, I think he thrives when he's playing in the lights, right? When it's a primetime game, when it's a game with things on the line, he relishes that, right? And you see it with the fact that he's had now 5 touchdowns or 5 game-winning drives, or at least going up drives, the most of any quarterback in the NFL ever. Not just rookies, but ever.
Under 30 seconds or OT. That's
under
right.
30 seconds. He thrives when he needs to shine. He just plays better. And I will stand by this. If OZ does not drop that pass, okay, that bounced off his helmet again, whizzed by his head, they win in regulation against the Falcons. Okay. They went to overtime. Thankfully, it went to overtime. Jayden Daniels called game himself, and you saw it on that drive. It was on the line. He said, I'm winning this damn game. And he went out and there did that. I was more worried, not about him being bent over, but that hit he took, that was a hard hit that they took the timeout and he looked winded. He looked hurt, but he still delivered a game-winning touchdown. If you're a betting person, put your money on Jayden Daniels. You're going to probably lose a lot of money in the long run, but you're going to make a lot of money and you're going to feel good doing it too. So that's a danger. Bet responsibly, folks.
Yeah.
Bet responsibly.
Don't be a quitter. Just keep betting. Don't be a quitter.
No,
but I will say one other part is like there are 2 guys that over the course of my betting, and I've been betting ever since the 6th grade. I never bet against Tom Brady. Refuse to do it. Just wouldn't do it. Him in those AFC playoffs, him and Peyton Manning, everybody wanted to put money on Peyton. I'm like, it's Tom Brady. Don't pick against him. Patrick Mahomes is also reaching that. Every year going forward, if you want to know who my Super Bowl pick is, if Patrick Mahomes is playing for the Chiefs, that's it, right? Jayden's, I know it's going to sound crazy. Jayden's kind of entering that conversation. I'm not there yet, but the fact that I'm even contemplating it for a fucking rookie is ridiculous.
Yeah, if he does this next season, he's 100% going to be one of those guys where you just, I mean, we say it now, right? Like, even the team's like, as long as Jayden Daniels playing, you've got a chance.
Right.
And he's shown it. And if he does it again next season, it's unreal to be a fan of the Burgundy and Gold right now, to have a player like that who's just going to take over games and win and do stupid, crazy stuff.
Yeah, he is unique. He is special. I don't think anyone's jumping the gun by saying those things. It's a rookie year, and we see sophomore year slumps. Those happen. So does he get into one of those? We'll see. Time will tell. For the time being, it is on the board that he could be the best quarterback in the NFL. It's amazing. It's on the board that a few years from now, he could already be there, right? Because when we look at Patrick Mahomes in his first year, he had Alex Smith, and he got to sit behind him and get brought in. Something KDot and I had talked about in the offseason when drafting any one of these guys. We even said, if we took a Jayden, let him sit. Well, okay. I mean, this guy didn't have Tyreek Hill, doesn't have Travis Kelce. He's got Terry McLaurin, Olamide Zaccheaus, De'Ami Brown, Zach Ertz. These are the guys we're talking about.
Noah Brown early on.
Noah Brown, right? So, like, as the talent continues to build around him, that's when I think we'll get a better sense. And as the expectations pile on, how does he handle them? So far, so good. Remains to be seen. But, man, we're witnessing something special for sure, Jim. Good comment there. We go over to Tony.
All right.
Shout out Tony OG with a couple comments here. Amit, it was awesome meeting you, man. Thanks for making that happen. Going to that game with my son, winning the helmet, meeting Amit, and winning in overtime. I couldn't have asked for a greater experience to share with my son. That stadium was electric yesterday. What a game. 5 thumbs up on that too. Tony, I'm honored to have been mentioned as part of the experience of like you guys having a fantastic time. It was awesome meeting you and Rashawn. I'm glad you guys had an amazing time, and what a game to be at, and looking forward to seeing you again, Tony. It was really, really cool. So I'll take that one. Then the next one we'll go for the two of you guys. It's from Tony again, who goes, Jayden's deceptive elusiveness in person is incomprehensible. I couldn't believe or explain what I was witnessing. He's deceptively slippery. No diddy. This is so special. JD is going to be the best player to ever play for this franchise. As great as Sean Taylor and the other franchise legends were, we've never experienced a franchise QB. In the team's glory years, we won 3 Super Bowls in the span of 9 years with 3 different QBs. Was Joe Theismann our last legit franchise QB back in the 70s and 80s? This is incredible. In the words of the company man, it's all happening. KDot, over to you.
Sammy Paul, still, I love Sammy Paul. I talked about that 3rd and 2, where he slipped out the unblocked defensive tackle. He slips out and makes that run. Yeah, it's crazy how little effort it seems as though he's making when he's doing some of the shit that he's doing. Once again, the only thing, I know everybody hates the comparison game, but Lamar Jackson does that, where it's like it just looks easy. Michael Vick, it always looked like there was some more to it, like he was really trying to do it. But there's just the ease of what he's doing. The only thing that I gotta keep going is, especially in this last game, that boy got hit entirely too much, man. You can't. It was wonderful to see. I'm glad that he got up. But as you were saying, that when they called the timeout there at the end and Mariota's giving the prep talk, I'm like, save him from himself, please. Like, he's going to try.
Yeah, you did not see him with a smile on his face. Jayden Daniels did not have a smile, and that scared me. That scared me. Yeah.
But that also, like, I love that mentality. I love the fact that he's going to be one of those dudes that the team's got to be. We have to protect him from himself. And that should be the thing that you have your teammates look around and say, we got to step it up for him. He can't do it all by himself.
Right. Nathan, over to you.
So that scares me if we have to save him by himself, because normally that's a bad thing, right? RG3 was one of those players you had to save him from himself. Now, the difference is I think that Jayden Daniels is head and shoulders above what RG3 was coming in. I was very ecstatic. Stoner will tell you, I told Stoner the year before, 2011, I said, be on the lookout for this kid from Baylor because he is a dude and Washington would be good to have him. Stoner will tell you, we were in Ramstein, Germany at the time. And so he was stoked that actually happened. And it was a great season 2012, but this is an entirely different team. And this team, you were talking about KDot trying to do the math and like, how would this team match up? Jayden Daniels is the difference maker. Absolutely. But this coaching staff is outstanding. That what they're doing with a 60% turnover rate, with the player retention, right? Like they just turned over that many players. With the fact that we're taking on Noah Brown as your second wide receiver going into the season, he was literally cut because he was like wide receiver 4 or 5 on the Houston Texans. Okay, then Zacchaeus, who was wide receiver 3 last year for Philadelphia, is on your team. You got Jamison Crowder, who has been bounced around the league, wide receiver 5 most of his time when he wasn't in Washington. Like, this is your wide receiver room. You pull in guys like Zach Ertz, who's on the tail end of his career. You have a Bobby Wagner who's on the tail end of his career, but they're playing important minutes and they're doing damn good things for this team. This coaching staff is outstanding. And I feel like they don't get enough credit for what they're doing with who they have. A lot of it's going on Jayden Daniels because he's putting this team on his back. And I on record saying Washington's never had a franchise QB. Even the greats that you know of, Joe Theismann, Baugh, and others, like they didn't have necessarily the longevity. And if Jayden Daniels can have the longevity and win a championship for this team, he absolutely could go down as the best player to ever don the burgundy and gold.
Wow. I mean, yeah, that's what we're talking about right now. And now he's got an opportunity in the playoffs to make more of a name for himself, where people go, hey, it's the regular season. We're not used to it, sure, being in the playoffs these days. But for him in terms of the media, the national spotlight, and he does well in it so far. Does he continue to do well in it and continue to enhance what he does there? Yes, final word here, KDot.
It's the organization. Like it's from the top down. I would not pick, even if I go back to the Joe Gibbs, Bobby Beathard like era, which is like it's in high esteem. You win 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks. That's something special, right? But like you're getting to that mode where like you're being compared to the best. Like this is the best organizational like output that we might have ever seen if we're looking at ownership all the way down. This is like, it's truly great. You had a Shanahan coaching staff, which is really good, but they're bumping heads with ownership in the front office. But the idea that everyone's moving in the same direction is not something that we've seen here in forever.
We go over to Coach with his final comment, or their final comment, excuse me. Penix Jr. is still my QB1. It's a 3-year eval, and that was his second NFL game. Both dudes are special for sure. So I'll start with this one and saying Penix was my QB2 out of the draft, with Jayden being QB1. I saw enough at the end from Michael Penix where I'm like, okay, hey, when the game's on the line, he stepped up, he did well. Even on the final drive where they missed the field goal, that very first throw, he got some going. So it looked like he was getting in a rhythm late. I anticipate that he will continue to improve. I like Penix a lot, but thankfully he missed on a lot of throws in that game. KDot, over to you.
I liked almost all the quarterbacks in this particular draft, at least anyone that were up high. I was high on all of them. Remember, I was sort of like cherry picking, using my top golf to try to determine who it is I thought number one. Although I do feel really bad for JJ McCarthy and whatever's going to happen this offseason. Sam Darnold.
He'll stay there. He'll stay there.
I mean, unless the New York Giants come a calling and God damn it. No.
Let the Giants take Sam Darnold. That's what they need.
Never. That'll never happen.
Okay. Nathan, over to you. Penix.
I think he's okay. I did like KDot. I thought pretty highly of the pretty much the top 7 or 8 choices that Washington had at their disposal. I'm glad they went with Jayden Daniels, even if he wasn't my number 1 pick. And I'm unfortunately also on the record on the JJ McCarthy train, saying that he probably will have the best career. But a lot of that was going to a Minnesota team that was good and an offense that is designed for him. Well, Kliff Kingsbury has designed an offense for Jayden Daniels, and that is why I think that he is going to end up being QB1 overall. Penix struggled early on, and we've seen it before from rookie QBs where they kind of turn it on in a 2-minute drill because they stop thinking, right? They just start doing. The thing is you're not always going to be in a 2-minute or a 4-minute drill where you get to do that. And that's my worry for Penix because he had a lot of bad passes, not just 1 or 2, but there was a lot of bad passes when they were struggling to move the ball. And that's what my worry going forward for him. If they can keep an offensive line for him and give him the support he needs, have quality wide receivers like they do, get a different tight end because Pitts is failing KDot over there, and get a running game and a line, I feel like he could be good, but I don't feel he will be one of the better quarterbacks to come out of this draft. I think that he will be kind of the also ran category, like, hey, he was good, but look in 5 years that Atlanta might be on the market for another quarterback.
Okay. All right. Well, we will see. And we go over to Mr. Payne. Shout out. Does not matter who we play in the playoffs. Anybody, anywhere, anytime. Get up.
Once again, the JD5 of it all, as far as outcomes go. But then I haven't said this. I know I say this a lot, but I'm going to reiterate because first time in this episode, I don't really care about playoff outcome this year. Like it is all to me about what experience they are having and developing for future times. Like every time I think about this team and where we are right now, and I look at those 11 wins, probably looking at 12 and think how much salary cap space we got, how we still have draft picks, how we got a team that knows what the fuck they're doing. And I think to myself, am I really seeing the floor right now? Is this the floor? And if this is the fucking floor, all bets are off, baby. I'm so looking forward to anything beyond this. It's just the idea that I can eliminate, Jayden now has playoff experience. He knows what that looks like. Good with me.
Cool. Nathan?
Yeah, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. It is fantastic to think that this team is overachieving with its talent. I have high expectations for Adam Peters going into the offseason and what he's going to do. I think that they're seeing right now where the holes are. I expect the offensive line to get a lot of love in the offseason. You've seen a lot of injuries. You've seen maybe a little not as good play. They have the franchise QB. They figured that out. How far they go in the playoffs, it, like you said, KDot, not going to matter. We're going to hoist the Lombardi. Might not be this year, but we're going to hoist one because the organization is moving in the right direction together, and you have smart individuals making smart decisions, and you've got a superstar QB. All of that goes into play. That's going to be fantastic. I know a lot of people make a big deal about rookie contracts. If you look at the last few Super Bowls, you go 10 years in the Super Bowls, Mahomes is the only one in that rookie contract that has won a Super Bowl. So that's not the factor that's important. What's important is having a smart, sound football team. If they can fix the defense as well, it's great. The only way I'm thinking a sophomore slump happens is if Kliff Kingsbury leaves, and I don't think that he leaves after this season.
All right, fair enough. And we go over to Clarence Thomas, who goes, "Come on, son. You know Mikey Sanders still was and is too small for 6'4 plus receivers," is the comment there. KDot?
I think every once in a while you see that the height becomes a thing, like if he gets beat over the top. But I'm telling you, majority of the time I'm saying it's just he's got the wrong angle. He's not using his leverage properly like that. And once again, where you are standing in the slot compared to where you are standing on the boundary line, very different as far as what you're doing with your body. He's getting better overall as far as being able to do both, but it is an adjustment. And that's where I'm seeing the biggest struggle come from Sanders.
Nathan?
I think that it's a little overplayed. I think that he is a smaller wide receiver and he's going to get beat on some of these with these taller wide receivers or a tight end if he happens to be lined up over one of the tight ends who gets moved out to like the slot. The thing is when you're talking about that height advantage, you're talking about having the QB throw it in an area where Mikey can't get to, which is not normally where you throw the ball, right? When you're a QB, you're targeting the numbers essentially, right? You need to throw it where that wide receiver is going to reliably catch it. And if you're purposely aiming high because you have the 6'4" wide receiver going up against Mikey Sanderson, you're gonna air out the ball a couple times and look at Quan Martin or Jeremy Chin. Currently, Jeremy Chin might leave this offseason. Look at them kind of being in the back of that and catching an interception because QBs aren't used to having that the whole jump ball shit. That's backyard football type stuff. Baker Mayfield's going to do it to you, but good quarterbacks try to aim for where their wide receivers reliably going to catch it. And I know KDot, you mentioned he's taking some bad angles and whatnot. I expect him to fix that. He as well as St. Juice tend to be in the right spot. The difference is Mikey turns his head back and he plays the fucking ball. Benjamin St. Juice doesn't turn his head back. He gets a DPI, but he's at least on his guy. But that's NFL open, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I think the height thing is a little bit overplayed. He's athletic and he's smart. And so that's why I expect Mikey to be, with us for a while and a good damn player.
And it was mentioned earlier, Nathan, I believe it was you, KDot, maybe it was you. I apologize. The matchup against AJ Brown that first time around did well, especially for being a rookie on the road. Initially on Devontae Smith, they're like, you know what, just go to the other side, see what you can do against AJ. And he did very well. So the height thing, I know I was teasing a bit earlier. It is overblown. I agree with both these gentlemen right here.
It happens. I mean, Marshon Lattimore did not have a great game against AJ Brown.
Exactly, it does. And we go to Vinda. Oh, geez, shout out. Bruh, Penix is a dog. JD5 is so cool and collected. He doesn't need a lot of help. He elevates the players around him. 3 backup offensive linemen, wide receiver 1 doing cardio. Michael Davis makes you appreciate Benjamin St. Booty Juice. A lot of people will tell you he's a Lamar copy. He's not. I'm telling you, this guy is a force to be reckoned with for the next decade plus. You can't go wrong with the Heisman QB from LSU. My God. Raise hail, beat Dallas. KDot?
Why does it sound like people are taking it as a slight that he's being compared to Lamar Jackson? Lamar Jackson's fucking great. Like,
Yes,
I can honestly tell you why though.
Why?
Because so the thing with Lamar is, first off, he's been in the league for many years. He hasn't won one yet. We're in heads in the cloud territory, right?
Mhm.
So let's just keep that in mind. The other thing is, it is a bit of a rap on Lamar that when the game gets close against really good opposition, talking the Steelers, talking the Chiefs, etc., there's a tendency to get tight. Playoffs, whether you believe it or not, that's out there, right? I mean, if you even look at last year against Kansas City, the argument is, well, if he was truly the league MVP, why is airing it out with the league MVP a bad thing? Right? So like, that is just the slightest of knocks on Lamar, just to be clear. Whereas Jayden in the biggest spots, he's putting that ball exactly where it needs to go. It's being caught. He's leading the league in touchdowns under 30 seconds in OT. That is the only small thing, okay? Because Lamar could well win his third MVP, which would be something you called, KDot, before the season. I was reviewing that episode as well. I just wanted to explain that portion of it, but go ahead.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But I'd counter and say there's a reason that I don't like the idea of putting it all on Jayden's back is going into the playoffs. I don't think that's a recipe for any quarterback to have success.
It's not. Of course not.
You look at Tom Brady. He didn't put the fucking team on his back. He didn't make mistakes while the defense did what it needed to do. And he got a running game that needs to do what it needs to do. The thing with Baltimore, and trust me, Lamar could have absolutely been better when it comes to playoff time. There's no getting around it. But you look at them over the course of the last how many years, how many times was like their first three running backs not being able to play come fucking playoff time, right? It's like, and then you're talking about going up against every team that gets named in the AFC that Lamar loses to. It has a coach that's going into the Hall of Fame, and it's always
they're all amazing,
with great running, with great rushing attacks and defenses to fucking play. That's the recipe. You do not put it all. Look, great for the regular season, great as far as where you need to go as far as your playoff seeding. Throw the ball as much as you fucking want to. When it comes to playoffs, I need a quarterback that doesn't make mistakes, can make a certain player make a drive when need be, but I need the team to play good defense and to run the fucking football. If you can do that, success. It doesn't happen. Once again, Jayden might be rewriting the books when maybe that's why you don't want to be comparison. It has never happened. Joe Montana didn't do it. Tom Brady didn't do it. Peyton Manning didn't do it. Name anybody you want to name. They didn't do it.
That's fair. Nathan?
I understand why people are upset with any kind of expectations or, trying to say he's Lamar Jackson or this Patrick Mahomes or whatnot like this. The thing is comparisons need to be made. And yes, he's his own individual. And yes, he's rewriting the history book. But it's not a bad thing to be likened to a two-time MVP. It's just not. And there are some similarities with it. I think that they don't have a similar play style, though, is the crazy thing. They both are a running quarterback, but they don't run the same way. Lamar Jackson, I feel like, maybe it's the bigger body that he has, but he's still kind of a slim frame that he runs more like a running back. And, you see JD5 who glides through things. And we saw, you mentioned the Atlanta play, but when you're talking about how his, I think it was Tony who said in person, it's different. Look at what he did to Jalen Carter. Carter's a big dude who's athletic, and he had that guy on skates. And that elusiveness is something that I don't actually think Lamar Jackson has. Like, he has elusiveness, but it's not the same kind of gliding elusiveness that Jayden Daniels has. So are they comparable? Yes, and it's a good thing to be compared to him. What matters is what we'll see in the playoffs, and we'll see if Jayden Daniels exceeds expectations there the way that they've exceeded expectations this regular season.
I think when we talk about the elusiveness between Lamar and Jayden, I think just different. That Jayden seems to be a bit smoother, but Lamar's is much more spectacular when he gets past somebody using his elusiveness. You're like, oh my God. Like the spin move against Cincinnati, his MVP season, where he gets two Bengals to hit each other. The one where he stops right at the goal line. The dude goes flying. He just walks in. It's way more spectacular.
He had one just a couple weeks ago where he was dancing around the backfield, and he just kept moving back and forth, and the defensive player was just trying to stay in front of him, and he throws for a touchdown. It was in the red zone. I can't remember which team it was against,
Oh, it was against Houston.
Yeah. It was against Houston. That was different than what Jayden Daniels does, right? I have not seen Jayden Daniels do that kind of elusiveness. So it's there. I understand why people make the comparison. I don't think that they're the same player, but it's, again, not a bad thing to be likened to a guy who's a 2-time MVP and a winner and a spectacular player in his own right.
We go to Big Javi too, who writes 5307 mark of the last episode. I agree. And this is why I call 5 the slim assassin. This is in reference to Jess Santos' comments, and we got a couple Jess Santos comments coming up. So we're going to skip over to Earl Bruce. Shout out Big Javi one more time for the comment. Appreciate it. Earl Bruce goes, first time in 33 years, they've won 11 games. The roster has holes everywhere. 60% of the team is new. Jedi 5 wills them to victory. This is a perfect beginning. Nathan, let's start with you this time, because you had mentioned the 60% of the team is new.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of hope, and I don't think it's just burgundy and gold glasses. I think that we see something special happening before us, and it's an awesome time. You two are younger than me. I was 6 years old when the team won 11 games. I don't really remember it. I cherish the North Turner years where it just seemed like we were just good enough, and then everything went to crap for the last decade, or the last part of the millennium here. And so it's an exciting time to be a Washington fan. And I, for one, we say this all the time on Ref the District, we welcome all new fans. If you're coming back to the team, there's people who like to gatekeep that. And I think that's the dumbest thing in the world. If you weren't with us when we were losing, you can't be with us now. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Welcome aboard. I understand why you weren't there, and I'm okay if you want to join now. You're an LSU fan and you just want to follow Jayden Daniels. Come on board. Wear that burgundy and gold. Wear it proudly. I passed a guy here in Oklahoma wearing a Washington Redskins hat while I was wearing some Washington football team gear. And I was like, hey, man, I like the hat. He looked confused. I don't know why he was wearing the hat. It's Oklahoma. There might be some political reasons for it. Not going to touch that right now, but you like to see it. You like to see people wearing the burgundy and gold. Bring it on. Bring on more fans. It's a special time here in the capital.
It absolutely is. KDot, your reaction to the comment?
I'm a hipster at heart. I used to wear a lot of flannel. You see the beard. I like to be in Brooklyn quite a bit when I was younger. So there is a gatekeeping aura of me that just exists. When a band that I really, really like becomes famous, as always, I listen to them first and I don't listen to them now. But when it comes to this and the Commanders, I go as far as to say, if you did leave this team at some point over the course of the last 20 years, I salute you and you were right. I'm sick. We're sick. We did not do the morally right thing, the mentally right thing, none of those things. So come on back. I do know, because I sat through the pain, it probably will be sweeter for me when the success comes rolling around. But I don't. You guys made the right choice for yourselves, and I'm jealous that you're not as sick as I am, and not an addict like I am, and a glutton for pain like I am. Okay, congratulations! But now you get to come on back. Come on back, bring it. The bandwagon's a lot happier when there's so many people involved. The idea that we could be playing a playoff game in LA and there's a bunch of fans there, I need that shit. Bring them all. Bring everybody. Come on. Bring your friends. Bring your family. Have kids and make them goddamn Commanders fans. All right, this is what we need.
Here's someone who stuck around the whole time. Pally for life. Shout out. I believe. Do you? Anybody, anywhere, anytime. #share this shit. Echoing a prior comment over there with anybody, anywhere, anytime, that I believe it was Mr. Payne that said that. So quick reaction from both of you. KDot, starting with you, and then we'll go to Big Papa Grizzly.
I'm getting there.
Getting there. Okay. And Nathan?
With 5, we're alive.
5 are alive. We go to Big Papa Grizzly. A huge shout out to Marcus Mariota for the fucking inspirational line of the season at the end of that Atlanta game. That moment and the Carolina game is why they brought him to the team. Much respect to the vet. Another big shout out to All-Pro Revo. Congrats on the engagement, my dude. And the biggest shout out, of course, goes to Jesus, Jayden Daniels, and Terrence McScorin on going to the Pro Bowl. Let's hope neither one of them plays, because we're playing in the Super Bowl. Share this shit. KDot, both Jayden and Terry announced as Pro Bowlers. Not alternates. We got about 11 of those, but we've got alternates as well. But those two actually going to the Pro Bowl. Your reaction?
Whoa. I wish the Pro Bowl meant more to me.
I know. It used to be this really, really cool thing, but it's cool to be recognized nonetheless.
All right, cool. I will say, Jeremy Reeves, as someone who's dabbled in the snow, I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry for what you had to go through on Twitter the last few days, bro. Oh my God, you didn't deserve that shit, man. Oh, love is love, people. Let people love who they love. All right, just leave him alone. Leave a man alone.
Yeah, that's fair. Nathan,
not going to touch that last part. Just going to say congrats to Jeremy Reeves, and yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say on that subject.
Fair enough. We go over to Jess Anta with not one but two comments. So I'll read both, and then we'll quickly do an after the pod. Jess Anta goes, "I'm late on this one. I'm going through a lot. So first off, hope you're doing all right, Jess. Hopefully KDot catches it. This is Dallas week. Let's not forget Turkey Day. I will never forget that shit. That summed up last year. We were unbearable to watch. Now we are the big swinging dicks in the room, and Dallas is reeling. Let's destroy them with no hesitation. Put the foot on the gas and do not let up. We haven't had a complete game in a minute. Let's use our arch nemesis as a stepping stone going into the playoffs. Beat the brakes off of them and do not look back. Their best player wants to be on our team. Can we get the run game going? Can we stop the run? I'd rest Lattimore for the playoffs and try to figure out what St. Juice can actually do without shitting himself. We want Dallas. That is one of the comments of the other. I also think we match up better with the Sheagles than the Rams. Puka would have a better day against St. Juice than AJ Brown would. I'm at the point where I don't see Lattimore playing. KDot, your reaction.
Yeah, once again, Rams scare me. The Rams wide receivers do scare me. I like the idea period of us playing against somebody that we've already played, as we've alluded to in the past. Yeah, sorry you're going through some shit, Jess. I know how that goes. Likewise, there's always shit happening on my end as well. So thoughts with you, man. I don't know what else he said. Get after that, my own mind.
Can we stop the run? Can we get the run game going?
Oh, yeah. Dominate these fuckers. Like, there's a balance, right? I will need Mike McCarthy to come back. So don't do it that badly. But I need them to quit for the most part. Not quit as badly as Jerry's like, oh, he lost the team. I need to fire him. I just need, give me some Trey Lance time, all right? Let Trey be the one that loses everything and it goes to shit, all right, in the third quarter. Just beat him enough. Beat him enough.
Okay. Nathan, over to you.
Actually, it's funny enough. The first matchup, I predicted Washington beating Dallas so bad that it would cost McCarthy his job. So then that game happened and it was bad. It was bad. I don't think that they're going to beat them so bad McCarthy loses his job, but I do think that they're going to beat him bad. And please start Trey Lance, see what he has, because then Washington might have a chance get its first shutout in like 15 years. Like it's forever and a day ago since Washington's had a shutout. And that would be nice to see against the Dallas Cowboys. I don't care if it's a meaningless game for them. It means something for Washington. So it'd be good, especially in Jerry World, which they're awful. And they've got like their point differentials, negative 114 right now. Stop them.
Yeah.
Put him in the ground.
It's absolutely nuts. This is a Dallas team that could be had. We have all predicted a victory over the Dallas Cowboys. Jess, on the subject of Marshon Lattimore, don't anticipate him playing this week, of course. I'm nervous about next week. I know if we play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he's going to be okay somehow. So that's how I feel about that whole thing. And most importantly, hope you're doing all right, Jess, and hoping that everything goes better. This was the show. This was District Divided, a DC Sports podcast, more specifically a Washington Commanders podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. I am Amit. That is KDot. That is Nathan. Nathan, do you want to quickly plug yourself? Ref the district, please. Go
yeah, sure. I mean, people can check me out at the Nathan Perry, or more importantly, on Ref the District. Catch us on YouTube live every Wednesday, 7:30 Eastern. We talk all things Commander. We do some dabble on some DC stuff, but no one watches that, so we just kind of really specifically focus on the Commanders content, and things are going good, man. I mean, and when the team's doing well, like the people have been coming out in droves, and we've been appreciating everybody joining the conversation. So thanks, guys, for having me on, because I'm a big District Divided fan, and proud and happy to be here with you guys.
Of course. Thanks for being on. And like Nathan said, please like and subscribe to Ref the District and the other stuff, not just the Commanders content over there. And please like this video, subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do, and KDot.
Share this shit. people. Just do it. Just do it. It's been 18 weeks of this shit. Just do it.
Yeah, and happy fucking New Year while you're at it. All right, listen, after the pod, real quick, that's what you were doing, begins right.
It's a little different.
Now, a very happy New Year to everybody. How'd you miss that?
I hit and my finger stayed on the button. God damn it.
Oh, man. Guys, I wanted to quickly touch on this decision by the Philadelphia Eagles, which I think was a bit of a no-win situation where Saquon is 101 yards away from breaking this record, because I do think it potentially impacts their playoff run. So them choosing not to after hearing Saquon speak, I think I'd already thought it was a mistake. After hearing him speak, I think it's a big mistake. Did you guys get the chance to hear him talk after? So he was asked on Sunday itself by Sirianni, right after the game. He had just hit 2,000 yards. Hey, what do you want to do? And he's like, hey, whatever you feel is best for the team, I'm good with it, whatever. And then he said, the next day, having slept on it, it was an opportunity for me to imprint my name in history. I probably will never have a chance like this again. So I'm down if we choose to, almost speaking as if it's still a possibility after Sirianni said, hey, we're resting. But I don't want to put the team at risk. So it is what it is. So that's what was said. And I mean, Nathan, I don't know if you have any thoughts on it, but I get the feeling there's such a vibes team. We've talked about it, KDot, like in terms of they listen to everything. When AJ Brown's not getting the ball, guess what happens? He gets the ball the very next game. I'm curious as to what this does. What'd you make of the decision?
He's so close. It's crazy, right? So he's had less carries than Dickerson's 84 season. He's only, like I said, he's 100 yards away from tying at 101 for beating it. Rushing touchdowns are very comparable and very comparable yards per carry. He would likely get it against the Giants team, even though the Giants team would be selling out because they don't want to be that footnote. But it is kind of unfortunate because Barkley got to 2,000, but anybody else want to tell me which running backs and when had 2,000 yards? There's been 9. It's not a feat that happens a lot. Unfortunately, though, there's been, I think, 7 of those times have happened in the last 20 years. But I think most NFL fans would struggle to remember which running backs got to 2,000 and when. They might remember Derrick Henry getting there. They might remember Adrian Peterson getting there. But there's going to be a bunch of guys they're going to forget. And Saquon had a chance to be in the record books and be a guy who would be in the NFL Hall of Fame for that alone as the leading rusher. And because he's not, if the Eagles flame out, like I predict they're going to do in the playoffs, this 2,000-yard rushing season is going to be forgotten about in about 7 years. People might talk about the backwards hurdle thing more than they'll talk about the 2,000 yards rushing.
Yeah, I find myself in complete agreement. KDot, your thought?
I find this to be another example of the lack of leadership or cohesion on this team. This should be a no-brainer. The Saquon's going to go for it, right? I don't care what they do as far as the rest of the team is sitting or doing this, that, and the other. But I can't imagine there'd be a lot of other circumstances where you didn't have like a good team camaraderie where they all weren't on the same page. Let's go get this for him. Not only let's go get this for him, let's go get it for him in the first fucking half so we can then rest, right? Mm-hmm. That would be the mentality. Like, let's go do this for him. And it wouldn't be him needing to talk about shit. It'd be Jalen Hurts, the quarterback, talking about it. It'd be the wide receivers talking about it. It'd be the coaches saying, I'm going to leave that up to him. I'm going to leave it up to the team to make that decision. Look, at the end of the day, I understand from a team perspective. Like, if I'm a team owner, I probably don't want them to do this. But I also know as a team owner, I shouldn't be involved in that. Like, I need the team to want this shit for each other. And that's where I go back to Philadelphia. I don't think they want it for each other. I don't hear them fighting for him the way that they need to fight for him. Because when I'm looking at leadership on that team, everyone keeps telling me it's Jalen Hurts. I don't think it is, because I just think he rubs people the wrong way. You can hear him in press conference. You can totally tell his humor is not for everyone. He's probably rubbing a lot of people just really wrong. I think if you're looking at anyone who might be potentially, it's Saquon, but he's too fucking quiet. They're missing Kelsey. They're missing Cox. They're missing the dudes that got everybody else. You can't tell me Jason Kelsey at center on that team wouldn't be like, we're going for the record.
Oh, absolutely. Look at the way Baker is talking about Evans and getting that one, right? Like, it's a different mentality, and that matters. And that team mentality is what will take you further in the playoffs than individual talent.
Yeah.
And that to me is, but that's the thing is that, like, people think that this, to me, it's just not a new phenomenon to me when it comes to Philadelphia. I think this is the way it is in that fucking city, and it kind of always has been. I don't see the look. They've had good squads. You look at the Andy Reid years and all that kind of stuff, but all you keep hearing the entire time is all the bitching behind the scenes, the infighting, all the nonsense that's constantly there with them. Right? Andy Reid is looked upon as like a god coach now. Back then, he couldn't keep his quarterback and wide receivers together or any fucking thing, right? Like,
by the way, this is okay. So the reason I wanted to bring up the Saquon thing, one, because it's in the division. It's an interesting storyline. This record's been held for 40 years now. And it's also something that can potentially impact them moving forward. Just because I think going for this record, KDot, I think you had said this really well, that this locker room seems to be divided. If they're all in, they're doing this. I don't think there's any question about it. I even think Sirianni, to an extent, wants to do it. But I wonder if Howie doesn't want to, or if Jeffrey Lurie doesn't want to.
I think they also know that they're completely effed if Hurts can't play. And Saquon is their offense. And if Saquon goes down in a meaningless Week 18 game, that's what they're worried about, which is dumb.
Sure.
They're such a better team than the Giants. KDot said it. Get 101 in the first half. He's capable of doing that in the first quarter. We saw it. He had 100 plus yards against Washington in the first quarter.
7 carries, 109 yards.
That's
just
pushing ass offensive line. If they really said, we don't really care about the outcome of this game, we're getting Saquon 100 yards. And they got in that heavy position, and they were like, we're going to run it down your fucking throats. We'll punt when we need to, but all those 3 downs, we're running the fucking football. You can go get it. It's just they're not on the same page.
Absolutely. Because here's the thing. People say, okay, the Giants will sell out and run. Cool. All right. They'll line up in goal line at their own 20. It doesn't matter. They'll have enough blockers to do it.
And Saquon getting past those guys, you're not
exactly. He's gone. It's over. You may do that in 5 carries, so you have to play a regular defense against him. But I also wanted to highlight this because now thinking about us and thinking about how we build the team, Howie Roseman gets a lot of credit for putting together a really, really talented team. Yeah. Oftentimes, though, he tends to overlook maybe the chemistry. And I think when you just get the most talented dude, no questions asked about anything else, you can run into stuff like this. So I'm curious to see how Adam Peters moving forward chooses to balance the talent along with the type of character, because that's the truly hard thing to do. It's easy to look at a mock draft and go, this is going to be the person. We're just
don't go the full Ron Rivera route, right?
You don't want to do that either.
Second.
Don't just reach for everybody, but also like, what's Mel Kiper's board say? I can't believe he's still on the board. We'll take him. It's not that easy. Mm-hmm. And so I think you see that a little bit with Philadelphia, because unless they have a truly, truly, truly strong leader, it doesn't always work. So curious to see how Adam does his stuff too. It's just a very small thing to look out for as well in constructing a team.
It goes, look, Sirianni got hired because he was supposed to be an offensive genius or some shit. And that's why I've always hated like, if you got a head coach who's got a good scheme and he's like a master genius or whatever, cool. But I don't care about that anywhere near as much as I care about a motivator of men and a dude that can rally everybody to work towards a common cause. Sirianni is not that. If I got to keep talking about how many times I got to see Dom's fucking face connected to Sirianni and shit, it's ridiculous. The fact that Sirianni and Ertz are getting into fucking beef. The reason that, like, we're even talking about Sirianni being the one that makes this call, right? But we know he's making this call because he's afraid if something were to happen. That's not how you make the decisions as a fucking coach. You're not listening to the outside voices. It's what's happening in the building between us that's making shit happen. They listen to everyone on the outside. People give, like, New York sports media a hard time as far as, like, oh, man, it's so hard to play in New York because this and the other. It's just chatter. Most of the good teams in New York, they don't give a fuck. It's just chatter. The thing with Philadelphia is it cuts deep. Yeah. It's not the sports personalities on Philadelphia radio. It's listening to the callers on Philadelphia radio. They're the ones with the major influence in that town. And if you haven't heard me before, they're fucking psychopaths in that fucking city, okay? You cannot let them be the ones that dictate what happens for the team. It's ridiculous. And the fact is, I'm even hearing Eagles fans. I'm not even hearing Eagles fans on the same page about what it is they need to do because they're afraid that something might happen to Saquon. You can't do shit like that, man. Just go for it.
Nathan, final word before we log off here.
KDot hit it. No notes.
No notes. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode, and we will see you on the other side of the regular season. Wow. The other side of the NFL regular season really has flown by.
12 wins.
Yeah. Could we get to that 12-win mark? We
should.
We're going. I'm still scarred from the last Dallas game where I said something similar to you, Nathan, where I was like, oh, it's just going to be so easy. This team rolls over. They quit. And then that happened. So,
good for you. My graphic comment, full disclosure, I was creating my graphic for our instant reaction for Ref the District after the game, and I throw up the W. I throw it up. I'm calling it. It's in the graphic. Okay. It's gonna stay there. It's gonna happen.
Hey,
will it?
I love it. Willing it to happen. So until then, we will see you guys Monday, 6 a.m. For our recap, and then right after that, we'll have a preview against one of those teams: Tampa, LA, or Philly. So until then. Take it easy.
Run the fucking table.
In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.